When you talk about the history of YouTube, there's one name that always comes up, whether you want it to or not. Shane Dawson.
I'm scared I'm gonna see a lot of pictures of underage penises. I don't know, how many dollars do you need to bail me out of jail for taking a teenager to prom?
I'm gonna start by saying I am not a fucking file.
For over a decade, he wasn't just a YouTuber, he was YouTube. His face, his characters, his controversies, they weren't just content, they were milestones in how the internet itself was evolving. A teenager filming sketches in his mom's house in 2008 would go on to become one of the platform's first millionaires, one of its most celebrated relatable creators, and later, one of its most disgraced figures. Shane Dawson has been called a pioneer, a visionary, a manipulator, a predator, a filmmaker, a sellout, and a clown. Sometimes all in the same week.
Oh, I love you too. Oh, I love you too. No, shut up and twerk. Maybe she can't hear us. Okay, wait.
Okay.
Twerk for us.
I loved it. No, that was gross. I can't even, like, why? That's strike one for Mexico. You know what I mean? Strike three, building a wall.
This is the story of a man who defined an era of internet culture and also represents how quickly that culture can shift. Today, many people know him for his commentaries and conspiracy theories. But to understand Shane's story, you have to go back to 2008.
Hey, all you nappy-headed bitches out there, this one's for you.
A time when YouTube wasn't a polished entertainment empire, it was a chaotic sandbox where people uploaded cat videos, home vlogs, or shaky clips.
Hi, it's Zendaya here. I just wanted to let everyone know that this is my official YouTube channel
from their phones. Monetization was in its infancy. Nobody thought you could actually make a career out of this thing. And then people like Shane Dawson came along with his awful side swoop hair.
Just like you would normally do, one by one. Look at my hair blowing in the wind.
He was one of the first YouTubers to treat the platform like a stage. His comedy sketches featured over-the-top characters, Shanae, Ned the Nerd, Aunt Hilda, all played by him. They weren't sophisticated, they were loud, wild, and exaggerated, but they connected with audiences in a way mainstream TV didn't. By 2010, Shane was one of the most subscribed creators on the platform, pulling in millions of views at a time when the word YouTuber didn't even sound like a real job. He proved that it was possible to build a career on internet content, years before the Paul brothers, PewDiePie, or MrBeast would dominate the platform. But even from the start, his content walked a dangerous line. Shane's early sketches leaned heavily on stereotypes, shock humor, and offensive punchlines. He wore blackface. He played racial caricatures. He made jokes about bestiality, obesity, and abuse.
Simon and my girl Paula and my boo Randy. Yo, man, we got a hot one right here. Oh, thanks, boo. Racist party!
Here's the worst part of it. I actually went to Google and I'm like, I don't want to see.
You could get arrested.
I know, but I just wanted to see, like, okay, let me pretend like I'm a.
So yeah, he said shit like this all the time. However, at the time, a lot of this flew under the radar. Early YouTube culture was unpoliced, chaotic, and almost encouraged boundary pushing. Comedy on the internet in the late 2000s thrived on being as edgy as possible. Still, there were people calling it out even then. Some forums criticized his use of racial stereotypes. Some fans admitted discomfort with his child-related jokes. But for the most part, Shane was shielded by his massive popularity. The early internet wasn't built for accountability. If you had views, subscribers, and fan loyalty, that was enough. Shane would later say he was just trying to be funny, and for a while that excuse worked.
I thought it was so... I loved the feeling of making somebody shocked and laugh because they couldn't believe what was coming.
Like he said himself, he heavily leaned on this shock factor throughout the years. By the mid-2010s, Shane realized he couldn't keep playing wigs and sketch characters forever. Comedy trends were shifting, and his audience was growing up. So he reinvented himself. he pivoted to storytime videos, eating challenges, and personal vlogs. He leaned into being relatable. For many fans, this was the Shane they really connected with, a guy who opened up about his weight struggles, his relationships, his insecurities. Then in 2015, Shane came out as bisexual. His video announcement wasn't just a milestone for him, it was a moment for YouTube itself. Audiences applauded him for his vulnerability, and mainstream outlets covered it as proof of how important creators had become in shaping conversations around and identity. This shift worked. Shane entered a new era, one where fans saw him less as an outrageous comedian and more as a flawed but genuine person. And then came his third reinvention, the era of conspiracy theories and documentaries. Between 2017 and 2019, Shane pulled off one of the most unexpected career pivots in YouTube history. He went from a semi-washed-up creator struggling to stay relevant to the guy who redefined what YouTube videos could be. His conspiracy theory videos, creepy edits, wild speculation, fast-paced montages, were addictive. They went viral. People debated them, mocked them, but most importantly, they watched them by the millions. Then came the docuseries era. Shane launched multi-part investigations into other creators' lives. Jeffree Star, Jake Paul, Tana Mongeau, Eugenia Cooney. The internet treated these like events. Millions of people tuned in not just to see Shane, but to see how he framed other creators. His collaboration with Jeffree Star led to one of the biggest YouTube business crossovers in history, the Conspiracy Palette, a makeup launch framed as the grand finale to his documentary series. The hype was astronomical. The palette sold out instantly, crashing websites, making Shane and Jeffree millions. By 2019, Shane Dawson wasn't just a YouTuber, he was a cultural figure. And that's when everything collapsed. Because while Shane was reinventing himself, the internet was changing too. What audiences laughed at in 2010 had become unacceptable by 2020. What fans excused as edgy humor became evidence of deeper problems. Old clips resurfaced. Blackface, racist characters, philia jokes, even disturbing moments with minors in his videos.
Look at me, I'm eating sushi. I like to make my eyes all Japanesey. Ching out chow chi, don't cheat.
Oh my gosh, y'all, picture time! Oh my god, she got me Dora the Explorer porn!
That's what this is, right? Ass, boobs.
The internet wasn't just uncomfortable anymore, it was furious. Then came the beauty community implosion. In 2020, Tati Westbrook released her now infamous Breaking My Silence video, accusing Shane and Jeffree of manipulation during the feud with James Charles. Shane's response, a chaotic, angry Instagram livestream, only poured gasoline on the fire.
Oh, of course. Is that another ad?
YouTube demonetized his channels. Sponsors cut ties. The internet branded him canceled. Shane Dawson went from the king of YouTube to its most infamous pariah.
Then I remembered, and I realized, Shane, you can't go and say shit like that and just throw it out there, because there are repercussions and people actually have feelings.
But here's the thing. This isn't just the story of one creator. It's about how internet culture has evolved, about how early YouTube rewarded shock value, how audiences blurred the lines between parasocial friendship and accountability, and how fragile online fame really is. Shane Dawson's career arc, the rise, the reinventions, the controversies, the downfall, and the uneasy attempts at a comeback, is a case study in what it means to live your entire life online. This deep dive isn't a redemption story, and it isn't a hit piece. It's a timeline, a chronicle of everything Shane Dawson has done, for better or for worse. From the wigs and sketches that made him famous, to the docuseries that made him respected, to the scandals that made him infamous. This is the full story of Shane Dawson.
I let you play with Barbies and then we'd bake cookies. And then
Now that we've given you a brief rundown of everything this guy's done, we would like to get into the whole timeline of who Shane Dawson really is, and how his downfall even began. So buckle in tight, because this is going to be one hell of a brain-rotting ride into the most disgusting internet rabbit hole. To many, He was the face of YouTube in the late 2000s and early 2010s. The guy with the wigs, the outrageous characters, the shock humor skits that drew millions of views when the platform itself was barely getting off the ground. But behind all the laughter and makeup smudges, Shane's career has been a long and complicated story. A rise to fame, a string of controversies, cancellations, reinventions, and in some ways, a fall from grace. But before the scandals, before the documentaries, before the endless apologies, Shane Dawson was just another kid from Long Beach, California, using comedy as a shield against a pretty rough upbringing. Shane Lee Yaw, better known later as Shane Dawson, was born on July 19, 1988. He grew up in a low-income household with an alcoholic father who eventually abandoned the family, leaving Shane, his mother, and his brothers to scrape by. His childhood was anything but easy. Stories of domestic abuse, poverty, and constant bullying shaped him into someone who turned to humor as both a defense mechanism and a survival tool. In Shane Dawson's widely viewed Draw My Life video, he opened up about some of the darker chapters of his childhood. According to Shane, his relationship with his father was far from stable. He recalls moments of physical abuse, his father hitting both him and his brother, and the emotional toll it left behind.
Ahead of ourselves. I was born into a family with my mom, a dad, and two brothers, Jared and Jacob. Me and my brothers became really close, mainly because we were afraid of my dad. He would take his anger out on my mom and us pretty much every night, which is probably one of the reasons I still have problems falling asleep to this day. I guess I'm still kind of scared. But hitting us wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the things he'd say, and I always believed him. Even up until my 20s, I thought he was...
But the story doesn't stop there. Shane revealed that his father eventually walked out on the family, leaving them behind for another woman. In Shane's own blunt words, she was a woman with big tits. What made the betrayal even more painful was the identity of this woman. Not only was she his mother's best friend, but also Shane's Spanish teacher at the time.
Luckily, when I was 9, he left my mom and us for another woman. She had huge tits, and she was really good at making burritos, which made me want to like her, but I couldn't.
In this video, he also said that after his dad left him, he didn't have a lot of friends, so he hung out with his grandmother and she fed him cookies. He ate them all up because food made him feel better, but it also made him gain weight really fast.
Anyways, after my dad left, I didn't really have any friends, so I ended up hanging out with my grandma every day. We would watch movies, read the paper, and she always fed me chocolate chip cookies because she said it would cure a broken heart. And she was right. Food made me feel a lot better, but it also made me gain a lot of weight. I don't remember the exact number I got up to because my scale didn't go that high. But I do remember when me and my mom would go to the movies, people would come up to us and say, "Aren't you ladies cute together?" Yeah, that didn't really help with my self-esteem.
Shane has always openly talked about being overweight as a kid and how that made him an easy target for bullies. He wasn't the popular one at school, he was the outcast, the weird kid, the one who didn't quite fit in. But that awkwardness, that pain, would later become the raw material for his comedy. Shane has often spoken about the bullying he endured during his school years, particularly because of his weight. In various podcasts, he's explained that comedy became his survival mechanism, that he had to develop a sense of humor just to cope. According to Shane, this was one of the driving forces behind why he started making sketches and directing videos in high school, even if, by his own admission, many of them were poorly made. But here's where things start to feel complicated. On one hand, Shane presents himself as the outsider, the kid who was relentlessly bullied, and we don't doubt that his experience with bullying were real, yet at the same time, there are moments in his past statements that paint a very different picture, and not always a flattering one. In one podcast, Shane said he rarely had friends in school, often managing to make only one friend a year. He added that the main reason he even made those connections was because he was the president of a school program called Best Buddies, a group designed to pair students with children who had special needs, to help them feel included and supported. The concern comes from how Shane spoke about it. Instead of treating the role with sensitivity, Shane casually referred to the children in offensive and derogatory ways, using outdated slurs that stripped away the very empathy the program was meant to foster.
I was the president of Best Buddies, which is a program in school where you befriend a person and you take them to the movies and you go to Disneyland with them, and I was the president. I know, I'm a giver.
For someone who claimed to understand what it meant to be bullied, the lack of compassion in those remarks raises serious questions about how much of his narrative is sincere and how much of it was played up for shock value. Not only did Shane use humor as a coping mechanism, but high school also became the place where he began to experiment with directing videos, something he described as a lifelong passion. But passion doesn't always equal talent, and in Shane's case, his early filmmaking ventures were far from impressive. In fact, as we'll soon explore in detail, much of it could be described as outright disastrous. Even in those early days, the content he created was steeped in the same type of controversial, offensive humor that would later define his career. His high school projects included dressing up as Adolf Hitler, as well as painting his face black to portray a caricature of a black woman. These weren't just poor attempts at comedy. They were blatant mockeries, rooted in racist stereotypes. And it's not like Shane was some naive little kid at the time either. In fact, we even came across a Reddit thread where a bunch of people, who were high school students around the same age as Shane had been back then, shared their thoughts. They said that even at that age, they knew doing blackface was never funny, never edgy, and definitely never okay. So the excuse that he just didn't know better really doesn't hold up. One commenter wrote, "I'm about Shane's age. I never thought blackface was something you should do." Another one wrote, "I'm the same age as Shane and definitely said/did some cringy stuff when I was younger, but blackface wouldn't have once crossed my mind. And I'd have been horrified if I'd seen anyone else doing it. When people say this is all a long time ago, you're talking 12 years ago, not 70 years ago, for f***'s sake." But the shocking part is that according to Shane himself, his teachers didn't just tolerate these videos, they praised them. He's claimed that they would pull him aside and tell him how much they enjoyed his work.
The teachers would pass around my videos to all the other teachers, and it was like this big thing.
So you went viral amongst the teachers at your high school.
It was very weird. Yeah. And once in a while, like, they'd take me aside and be like, "Saw your Hitler high school video."
And while it's hard to imagine how such content could ever have been accepted, let alone applauded, in a classroom setting, this strange encouragement only seemed to validate Shane's style of comedy. Looking back, it's unsettling to realize that what many people now see as deeply offensive was, at the time, treated as creativity. And this early validation set the stage for the kind of boundary-pushing and often harmful content Shane would go on to produce for a much larger audience online. However, this still wasn't the era of Shane Dawson TV. In 2006, Shane Dawson was still simply Shane Yaw, a recent high school graduate trying to figure out his place in the world. Despite finishing school, Shane admitted that his social life remained limited. He often said he didn't have many friends at this time and that he mostly spent his days hanging out with his grandmother, who played a significant role in his early life. By 2007, Shane was beginning to experiment with the internet as a new creative outlet. Long before YouTube became his main stage, he was active on other platforms. He started a blog on MySpace, where he shared personal updates and reflections. Much of what he posted during this period centered on his ongoing struggles with body image and his weight loss journey, a theme that would become a recurring thread in his public persona. It's here that we start to see the early building blocks of Shane's online identity. Raw personal confessions mixed with attempts at humor, all shared with a growing audience of strangers. It wasn't polished, and it wasn't yet the brand he would later become known for, but it laid the groundwork for what would eventually turn into one of YouTube's first big personalities. In March 2008, at 19, Shane uploaded his first YouTube video. When Shane finally launched his YouTube channel, he didn't use his real name, Shane Yaw. Instead, he introduced himself to the world under the name Shane Dawson. Now, we didn't know why exactly he changed his last name, but fans and online sleuths have pieced together a theory. According to several users on platforms like Reddit and Quora, the name Dawson may have been inspired by Leonardo DiCaprio's character Jack Dawson in James Cameron's Titanic. One user even recalled Shane mentioning in a Q&A video that during his high school years, whenever he was bullied, he would retreat into the comfort of watching Titanic. It was his safe space, his way of escaping reality. Adopting the name Dawson may have been his attempt to borrow some of the romanticism and resilience that Jack Dawson symbolized. Of course, the irony is hard to ignore. Jack Dawson is remembered as selfless, noble, and heroic, qualities that don't exactly align with the controversies and behavior Shane would later become known for. Still, in those early days, the name stuck, and Shane Dawson became the persona he would use to build his internet empire. The first video Shane uploaded on this channel was just as unhinged and crazy as you can expect from him. It was titled SDTV Episode 1. From the start, he framed his content like a serialized show. labeling each video as part of an ongoing series. Now, it's important to remember, after his initial cancellation in 2020 and 2021, Shane deleted nearly 1,000 videos from his channel. That mass purge makes it extremely difficult to trace his early catalog, but thanks to online archives and scattered clips preserved by viewers, some of that early content has survived. And honestly, what remains is more than enough to understand the tone and harm of Shane's work from 2008 through 2015, and even beyond. In that very first video, Shane introduced himself with a shocking claim, that he had cancer and only 1 year left to live. Before the weight of those words could even settle, he immediately broke into laughter, admitting it was just a joke.
Well, you're probably wondering why I'm doing this. I mean, I'm not a 12-year-old girl looking for man love on the internet. And I'm not lonely, or have no one to talk to. Truth is, I had cancer. And I actually only have a year. Until... yeah. So, I decided it'd be cool if I filmed it. You know, like my whole year. Have something to leave to my friends and stuff. I'm lying. I ain't got cancer. I'm just bored as shit.
It set the tone for the kind of humor he would rely on for years to come. Dismissive, offensive, and always punching down. Visually, the cringe factor was dialed up even further. Sporting a dated side swoop hairstyle and an exaggerated bent neck pose, Shane looked less like a rising internet star and more like a knockoff version of Rumpelstiltskin from Shrek. The unintentional comedy of his appearance did little to soften the edge of his content, which, even in its earliest form, showed just how far he was willing to go for a laugh. And almost immediately he found something that clicked. Like we said, his early content was outrageous, offensive, and unfiltered. He played multiple characters, usually by throwing on wigs and makeup, and the sketches often leaned into stereotypes that today would be considered wildly inappropriate. His breakout character, Shane, was a caricature of a ghetto black woman, played by Shane in a wig, exaggerated makeup, and over-the-top mannerisms. At the time, fans thought it was hilarious. Millions watched. But looking back now, it's impossible not to see it as blatant racial stereotyping, something that would come back to haunt him later.
Hey, remember that one time when you were like, Mom, get in here, videotape this, and then you started twerking, and then you shit your pants? No? Well, then you must not be this dumbass white bitch.
But it wasn't just Shane. Shane's comedy revolved around shock value. Fat jokes, racist jokes, and jokes that often crossed serious lines. He wasn't just towing the line, he was trampling over it. Taking a deeper dive into his content, we found multiple videos where Shane had painted his face black and put on stereotypical makeup that was just absurd to watch.
He's going out with the baddest boy in school.
You mean that lesbian with the baseball hat?
He's Johnny. He's so hot.
Okay, you know what? We are so over, Johnny.
Whatever, backwoods. I'll just find another Indian and have with backwoods.
As acting president of Degrassi Student Council body, I, Liberty Van Sant, am here to welcome you to Degrassi. But I must warn you, if you're a troublemaker, I'll be on your ass like flies on dog, little girl. Hey!
And it wasn't just the visuals. The things he said while doing this were equally outrageous, filled with offensive stereotypes and jokes that were more harmful than funny. It's very telling, especially since Shane himself admitted that he loved saying things purely to shock people, to make them stop and wonder, what the hell did he just say?
Why do I look? I mean, really. Cuckoo! Hey, Corbin, you know what I want to do? Get naked, sing show tunes, and tickle each other's asshole with a feather.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Yes, you guessed it. I'm a chocolate bunny. Or at least that's what it looks like. I was trying to go for Nicki Minaj, but this is what happened.
And if you think black people were the only group Shane mocked and made offensive jokes about, then you'd be mistaken. Shane believed in equality. At least when it came to racism, he made sure to target pretty much every race and ethnicity that existed. Japanese, Mexicans, Latinos, you name it. He had some sort of skit or joke at their expense. One video in particular that we came across was a song he made about Japanese people, and honestly, we have no words to properly define how nasty and uncomfortable it was. It wasn't just bad humor. It was degrading, disrespectful, and crossed every possible line.
Look at me, I'm eating sushi. I like to make my eyes all Japanesey. Ching out chow chi, don't chi.
Oh my gosh, y'all, picture time! I saw these videos of these Asian bitches trying to do makeup and trying to show people how to do makeup. And you know what? I ain't racist. I ain't trying to be racist, but all I'm saying is bitches should stick to what they know. And what they need to be doing is making videos about how to give good jobs and give good nails. That was kind of racist.
Not only that, but Shane also made songs targeting Mexican people, throwing out the ugliest stereotypes he could think of. In one song, he joked about them always standing outside Home Depot, along with other ignorant and offensive remarks that reduced an entire community to a punchline. And sadly, this wasn't an isolated case. It was just one of many times he leaned into lazy, harmful stereotypes for laughs. Here's a short compilation of some of these moments we found online. And keep in mind, this isn't even close to all of them. It's just enough to give you an idea of the kind of content he was consistently putting out.
Get into my car and drive to Home Depot. You're standing outside, so I yell on delay and you hop in my ride.
Who's gonna clean that up? Lupe! I hope my maid doesn't slip on this, because you know how Mexicans like to file lawsuits.
No, I had to go to the doctor's today, and they said I had swine flu, and that I got it from a friend.
You must have got it from some sick, dirty, nasty Mexican or something. Ew.
On top of that, Shane also made a lot of skits that casually threw around assault jokes, treating it like a punchline rather than the serious issue it is. One video we came across was particularly disturbing. In it, Shane was playing the character of a mom, and at one point, he accidentally threw a ball at another character, knocking her out cold. Instead of handling it in any sort of normal comedic way, he turned to the kids in the scene and suggested that they make her some grandkids while this girl was unconscious. It's the kind of so-called joke that isn't just unfunny, but deeply inappropriate and harmful.
Oh, good, she's out. Now make me some grandkids. I'll give you two some privacy.
Shane also had a recurring theme in some of his skits that was just plain disturbing. In these sketches, a girl would pass out, and then this so-called rapist character would suddenly appear, dragging the unconscious girl out of the room. And honestly, we're left asking the obvious question. Why? Why was this even a concept he thought was funny, let alone something he repeated?
Oh my god, is she okay?
She does that all the time. Attention, whore!
Uh-oh. Never leave your cup uncovered on Degrassi. That's how losers get date. Ha! Loser!
And if this still isn't bad enough, Shane didn't stop at racism or sexual assault jokes. He also dipped into ableism. Over and over again, he made fun of people with disabilities, throwing around slurs, mocking the way they spoke, or exaggerating physical traits as if that was comedy. It wasn't just one-off throwaway lines either, it became a repeated punchline in his content.
Farted?
Yes!
Oh, Shane! She doesn't even have any physical disabilities!
What?
Oh, nothing! I'm just surprised, you know, because usually when Shane brings home a girl, she has some form of mental illness or handicap, but you just look so...
And to make it even worse, he also said things like this.
Hey, stop hitting your brother with those balls, you bad little boy. Yeah, you're so bad. You like being bad? You like playing with those balls and being a bad little boy?
He was also, let's just say, very weird around animals. We came across a video of him where he put peanut butter on his lips and made his dog lick it off.
Eat my peanut butter.
And then, of course, he threw around the N-word like it was no big deal.
Word of the day is...
Oh, monkey woman, you're the best!
Hey, want to hear a black joke? Why is Stevie Wonder always smiling? Because he doesn't know he's a n***.
And this is just the beginning of his very trashy, very embarrassing, and unhinged YouTube journey. That being said, we believe that by now you probably have a fair idea of what Shane's early content looked like, even if you never followed him back then. It was messy, offensive, and downright problematic. Looking back at it today, it's almost shocking that so much of it not only stayed online for years, but also managed to gain him millions of young fans in the process. By 2010, Shane was one of the biggest creators on the platform, pulling in hundreds of millions of views. In fact, in 2010, Forbes magazine listed him as the 25th most famous web celebrity in the world, a massive feat in an era when YouTube stars weren't yet household names. Shane was pioneering what YouTube could be. He was building characters, creating stories, doing something that felt more like sketch comedy TV than random webcam vlogs. He was the first YouTube celebrity to make the leap from obscure internet personality to something mainstream adjacent. At the time, the internet was more forgiving, or maybe less aware. Fans laughed it off. Brands and media companies didn't call it out. YouTube didn't demonetize or take down the content. The early 2010s were in many ways a free-for-all. But if you look back, the sign of future controversy were already there. Shane wasn't just pushing boundaries, he was normalizing offensive stereotypes to millions of young viewers. And while this earned him views and fame, it also planted the seeds for the first of many public reckonings. One of Shane Dawson's earliest controversies came from a brand deal gone terribly wrong: the infamous Jenny Craig video. In the late 2000s, Shane was working at Jenny Craig along with his mom for the well-known weight loss company. But instead of simply doing his job, Shane used the setting to film one of his YouTube skits. The video included him and his colleagues dancing, singing, and acting out exaggerated characters, all while inside the workplace, and during store hours. Not only this, but he made the employees read smut books and dance on a pole.
I'll sleep for an hour. I slept through the transition, the most difficult part of labor. My doctor woke me, and after a quick check said, "I think it's time to push."
I don't know where that little dirtbag got the idea. I was interested.
At first glance, it might have seemed like another one of Shane's over-the-top comedy sketches, but the reality was far more serious. Not only was he mocking customers and the brand itself, but he also incorporated offensive stereotypes into the video, including racially charged jokes that many found inappropriate even back then. The video wasn't just unprofessional, it crossed into outright harmful territory. The fallout was swift. Jenny Craig's corporate office caught wind of the video, and Shane was promptly fired. And he wasn't the only one. His mother, who also worked there at the time, was reportedly fired as well, along with 6 other people. Yes, let that sink in. Shane later talked about this incident in a video titled "YouTube Got Me Fired." He said that he was so angry at being fired that he would go to the Jenny Craig building and set it on fire.
You know, I thought I could get really mad and drive over to Schmenny Schmreg and light that on fire and...
Looking back, the Jenny Craig incident became an early warning sign of a recurring pattern in Shane's career. Pushing boundaries for shock value, disregarding the consequences, and then facing backlash when the line was inevitably crossed. What might have seemed like just a stunt in 2008 foreshadowed the much bigger controversies that would define the rest of his time on YouTube. However, 2008 to 2010 was still a good time for Shane. Strangely enough, the Jenny Craig incident ended up opening more doors for Shane online. After being fired, he briefly took a job as a security guard at an aquarium. But by this time, his videos were starting to gain traction on YouTube. The platform itself had just introduced a partnership program, allowing creators to monetize their content, and Shane quickly seized the opportunity. He shifted into full-time content creation mode, pouring all of his energy into building an audience. During a Forbes interview, he said, "I started working as a security guard at an aquarium in Long Beach. It wasn't very threatening, no gun, so I was doing that while making videos every week. And I started getting more views, like 10,000, then 20,000. Then when it got to 50,000, YouTube contacted me to become part of their partnership program, which was new at the time. It slowly became my job. About a year later, it was enough to move my brother and mom out to Hollywood, which was actually Valley Village, but I didn't know any better." But the type of content he produced during this period was troubling, to say the least. His videos blurred the line between sketch comedy and shock value. and many of them were steeped in racist caricatures and offensive stereotypes. In one video, Shane invited several of his black friends over and then dressed his mother up as a so-called black woman, the only changes being that she wore a gold chain around her neck and had braids. The joke was not only offensive but completely absurd, reducing an entire identity to a crude stereotype.
I'm kinda late. Can you drive me to school?
Only if you got a spaceship, because I'm high as a
In another, Shane staged what he called a social experiment, painting his friend's face white and sending her out as part of a skit. He even titled it "Being White Burns." Yet another example of him turning race into a punchline. What made it even more surreal was how Shane tried to wrap up the video with an inspirational message, as if the crude performance had somehow been a learning experience. The disconnect was jarring, and yet for many of his early viewers, it became part of the bizarre charm that propelled him to YouTube fame.
Invite Shane to break the piñata, which is actually like, how can I indoctrinate children to hate
Also, this was his peak character video era. One of Shane Dawson's earliest and most recognizable characters was Shane, of course, a loud, aggressive, stereotypical hood character with over-the-top mannerisms, messy hair, and exaggerated clothing. Shane became a staple of his channel, showing up in countless skits and was often used as comic relief in collaborations or parodies. While popular at the time, the character relied heavily on offensive stereotypes and crude humor, which have not aged well and are now considered deeply problematic. Another recurring figure was Aunt Hilda, an eccentric, frumpy, and inappropriate aunt who would often act in disturbing ways around younger characters.
Oh yeah! Hey Shane! Happy Easter!
Aunt Hilda was played as both comedic and creepy, frequently crossing boundaries for shock value. This was part of Shane's pattern of using uncomfortable humor to get laughs, often pushing his audience into territory that felt more unsettling than funny. Then there was SDZ, a parody rapper persona that Shane created to poke fun at hip-hop culture.
This is S, DZ's G. You better take his advice or your ass will get shot.
Yo, welcome back to the G with me, SD.
This character also leaned heavily on stereotypical depictions of rappers, complete with baggy clothes, chains, and exaggerated slang. Much like Shane, SDZ was criticized for playing into racist caricatures, even though at the time Shane marketed him as harmless satire. He also had Fruit Loop, another racially charged character who parodied Latino stereotypes.
Voy a cantarle bene tu suene. I love you too!
This character was used sparingly compared to Shane or SDZ, but followed the same formula of exaggeration and mockery. Again, while Shane passed it off as just comedy back then, Fruit Loop is now seen as an example of how his humor relied on punching down at marginalized groups. Amy Johnson was one of Shane's recurring original characters. She was meant to be an awkward, weird girl, and a lot of the humor came from making her socially clueless or intentionally gross. Shane often played Amy with unflattering wigs, strange makeup, and exaggerated mannerisms. She was portrayed as needy, obsessive, or just plain bizarre. Aside from these, Shane played exaggerated versions of himself in multiple skits, often making himself the weird outsider who interacted with his roster of characters. He also occasionally portrayed animals or inanimate objects, anthropomorphizing them with inappropriate jokes. For example, the Kermit videos. These roles showcased his desire to constantly shock and push boundaries, even if it meant diving into extremely tasteless humor. However, collectively, these characters formed the backbone of Shane Dawson's early YouTube career. They were central to the sketch comedy format that made him one of the platform's biggest stars in the late 2000s and early 2010s. However, they also cemented his reputation as someone who built his fame on offensive stereotypes, crude humor, and shock value. However, still, by 2009, he had somehow managed to get 1 million subscribers, which is insane, considering that he had only entered the YouTube game barely 2 years ago. By 2010, Shane wasn't content with just being that YouTube guy in wigs. He wanted more. He dipped into music, releasing songs like Super Love, which actually charted on iTunes. He even attempted to break into acting, writing, and directing, trying to transition into Hollywood. But here's the thing. For every attempt Shane made to go mainstream, the shadow of his YouTube past followed him. Hollywood didn't fully embrace him. His sketches, his humor, it was too internet, too messy, too controversial. So while he was famous, he wasn't famous in the right way. He was trapped in that space where YouTubers lived, beloved online, dismissed by the mainstream. But before diving deeper into Shane Dawson's 2010 success era and his second channel lore, it's important to pause and look at where he came from. Because if you peel back the layers of Shane's career, you'll find a foundation built on dysfunction, neglect, and unresolved trauma. To understand Shane, you really do have to understand his family. And believe us when we say that every single member of his family was a little unhinged, especially his mother. On the surface, his childhood sounds like an average suburban upbringing. But when you look closer, the Dawson-Yaw household was anything but ordinary, and the dynamics inside that home shaped the boy who would one day become one of the internet's most controversial figures. Shane's father, Kyle Yaw Jr., left the family when Shane was only a teenager. Kyle's absence left a hole that Shane's mother, Teresa, often referred to as Terry, struggled, and arguably failed to fill. By Shane's own accounts, his father was an alcoholic, emotionally distant, and frequently abusive. In interviews and past videos, Shane has described watching his father lose control, scream at the family, and treat them with cruelty. Eventually, Kyle walked out on Shane, his brothers Jared and Jacob, and their mom. Now, we don't know a lot about his brothers, but Jared has made enough appearances in Shane's videos to let the internet know that he was just as crazy. If you all haven't been around on Shane's channel that much, then we'll tell you a bit about Jared. He is a flat earther. He thinks he's very and he started his own YouTube channel called The Cool Guy with Sunglasses.
A lot of you guys would comment saying how funny I was, how sexy I was, and you want to see more of me, and I really appreciate it.
He also apparently has a business called Language Arts Clothing with horrible designs. He has appeared on a lot of Shane's podcasts as well.
Not only is the universe stranger than you think, it's stranger than you can think. So...
Ew. That's too real.
Yeah.
Ew.
So,
Cause he don't kiss the way I kiss, and he don't rock the way I rock. He should've the way I
Holly Susie wants to know, hey, have you guys ever fallen in love with the same girl? Yeah, we decided to share her. Yay!
We mean, you get the idea. As for the older brother Jacob, we don't know a lot about this guy besides that he might have been adopted, which explains why he is not making a clown of himself on the internet right now. However, the entire family was a little bit problematic from the very beginning. Shane himself admitted on a podcast before that both of his brothers were drug addicts.
My brother Jared, I'm sure he's fine with me going into this because he's turned his life around, but he got into drugs, and my other brother got very into drugs to a point where we didn't.
His father, like we said, was also an alcoholic and left him for a woman who made amazing burritos, but if Shane thought life would improve with his dad gone, he was sorely mistaken. His mother Terry stepped into the role of single parent, but instead of being a source of stability, she became another source of chaos. Terry has been portrayed in Shane's content as quirky, eccentric, and even endearing. The goofy mom who would pop up in his early videos and documentaries. When you place all these puzzle pieces together, a picture emerges. Shane didn't just fall into controversy by accident, he was a product of dysfunction. Raised in an environment where boundaries were blurred, negativity thrived, and validation was always in short supply. His later problematic behavior, the dark humor, the desperate need for attention, the blurred lines of what's acceptable, can all be traced back to these early years with a family that was far from stable. Besides this, another recurring theme in Shane's early content was his relationship with his mother. On the surface, he often portrayed her as the cool mom, someone who didn't mind being part of his videos, someone who could laugh along with the jokes. But in reality, what played out on screen was often deeply uncomfortable to watch.
Okay, Mom, I'm gonna go see my girlfriend.
Yeah, right! This random guy from Yugoslavia wants pictures of my pussy! Gotta go!
Take, for example, an image of his mother posing beside one of Harry Styles' posters, which says a lot without the need to say a lot. It was marketed as quirky and edgy, but when paired with the actual content Shane involved his mom in, the effect was far more unsettling. Throughout multiple videos, Shane blurred, or outright erased, the boundaries between parent and child. He joked openly about his mother's private life, sometimes making inappropriate comments that crossed a line. In one instance, he claimed to have stumbled onto his mother's dating profile, which contained her nudes.
Hey, what's up, you guys? You know what time it is. Time to make my mom really, really uncomfortable. Oh my god, pics. Oh, I'm on your dating profile site. Sorry. You just click out of it.
He would also ask her some really inappropriate questions about her life, and the problem wasn't only that he was asking all these questions, it was that she was continuously egging him on and enabling this behavior.
Katie wants to know, what's your favorite noise?
Is it coming out of my mouth, or whose mouth?
I don't know whose mouth it's going in or coming. Hey, what's up?
And then there was one of the most unsettling moments of all. Shane filmed himself and his mother watching together and treated her reaction as comedy. For him, it was content. For viewers, it was awkward at best, and exploitative at worst. For some reason, this video was titled, 2 Kids, 1 Sandbox. Thankfully though, there were no children involved in the video, but it had other very disturbing things.
Caleb wants to know, hey Shane's mom, have you ever seen 2 1 Sandbox?
Here we go. Oh my gosh, it has children?
No, well, unborn children.
Is it legal?
Let's just say you're gonna hear a lot of this.
Oh.
In this video, they are apparently watching a woman inserting something into a man. We don't even know how to censor this part, to be honest. And this was her reaction to watching it, by the way.
What is that? What is that? Is it a banana? What is that?
Honestly speaking, this was beyond absurd. It was downright stomach-turning to watch. Shane wasn't just being edgy or pushing some comedic line, he was crossing boundaries on a whole new level, and doing so in a way that made you wonder how anyone ever thought it was acceptable. What made it even worse was that his audience was literally kids at the time. These weren't grown adults in on some dark joke, most of his fans were kids. We're talking 10 to 14 years old, sitting at their computers watching this man watching porn side by side with his mother. Just imagine that. Children absorbing this kind of content, normalized under the banner of comedy. How was this ever allowed to sit freely on social media platforms without any form of pushback? It's something we'll probably never get a clear answer to, but what's undeniable is how deplorable and unsettling this behavior really was. However, if you think this is bad, then you are not prepared at all for what we're about to tell you next. Shane wasn't only watching highly inappropriate content with his mom, but he was also sharing his highly inappropriate pictures as well. Yes, he just seemed to be really interested in the idea of his mother's being exposed out to the world. And trust us when we say that this wasn't some isolated one-time incident. He would constantly talk about it and joke about it. He would read out questions people sent him about his mom's vagina.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Friday video, and it's a special video because you all saw my mom's today. Is that an embarrassed face or an excited face?
A bit of both.
Megan Marie says, hey Teresa, have you ever tried to lick your own vagina?
And to top it all off, he even shared a picture of his mom with legs spread wide open and her blurred on camera.
Well, at least she's still naive.
Now, we don't believe this was actually a full nude of his mom, since she does appear to be wearing underwear, but even with that, it's still disturbing. Taking a picture of your own mother in her underwear, editing it, cropping around intimate areas, and then showing it online for views is beyond bizarre. It's not just strange, it's flat out incestual. What makes it worse is how his mother seemed to allow this behavior, almost brushing it off like it was nothing. Shane, on the other hand, wasn't some clueless teenager either, he was an adult, old enough to know better. Yet he still put all of this in front of a very young, impressionable audience, which makes the whole situation even more inexcusable. These moments painted a bizarre family dynamic, one where boundaries were consistently crossed in the name of entertainment, leaving audiences to question just how far Shane was willing to go for a laugh. That being said, let's move to Shane's content from 2010 to 2015, because this topic is really making us sick. By 2010, Shane Dawson wasn't just a popular YouTuber, he was one of the platform's first true celebrities. He was actually the king of truth. His subscriber count crossed into the millions at a time when most creators were barely scratching 6 digits. He was uploading several times a week, churning out skits, parodies, and character-driven videos that racked up millions of views within days. His style was loud, chaotic, and unapologetically crude. Whether it was his recurring characters like Shanae, SDZ, or Aunt Hilda, or his skits involving wigs, blackface, fat suits, and over-the-top accents, Shane was building a reputation as the guy who would do anything for a laugh. But behind the laughter, something was brewing. People were starting to notice how much of his humor leaned on offensive stereotypes, shock value, and outright exploitation of sensitive topics. And while those conversations were still relatively niche compared to what they would become in later years, the seeds of controversy had already been planted. However, to understand why Shane thrived in this period, you have to look at the cultural environment of YouTube and comedy at large. The internet in the early 2010s thrived on offensive comedy. Family Guy was pulling massive ratings with racist jokes. Shock jocks like Howard Stern still dominated the airwaves, and edgy comedians were celebrated for being un-PC. Shane tapped into that zeitgeist. His music video parodies, like Party in the USA or Lady Gaga spoofs, went viral not just because they were funny, but because they pushed boundaries that TV networks couldn't. He could make jokes about race, body types, and taboo subjects without censorship, and his audience ate it up. By 2010 to 2011, Shane wasn't just making videos for fun, he was a brand. He launched a second channel, Shane Dawson TV2, to post vlogs and more casual content, letting fans see his day-to-day life. He was recognized by major media outlets as one of YouTube's biggest stars. He began dabbling in traditional Hollywood projects, co-writing a pilot for a TV show called SD High. Though it was never picked up, it marked the beginning of Shane's ambitions to move beyond YouTube. He also started releasing music. His parody songs like Super Love and Hey Sup performed surprisingly well, even charting on iTunes. It was proof that his influence extended far beyond skits. But as Shane's empire grew, so did the criticism. Here's where things get complicated. While many fans viewed Shane as a pioneer, others were already calling him out for pushing offensive content too far. Even in his early stage, Shane's sense of shock humor veered into highly uncomfortable territory. He made repeated jokes about children and sexual contexts, clips that would resurface years later and become some of the most damning evidence against him. One of the most disturbing chapters to come out of Shane's second wave of SDTV content was his so-called fan mail opening videos. And trust us when we say these clips were equal parts horrifying and absurd. Shane would sit in front of the camera and open letters and packages sent in by his fans who liked to call themselves the Dawson Whores. Yes, his fanbase wasn't just called subscribers or viewers, instead they were all 14-year-old whores. We hope this doesn't get clipped out of context, but you can hear how wrong this sounds. We also came across this fan page online called Dawson Whore Only. And it reads, "Becoming a fan of Shane's gives/brings you a lot of advantages for this blog, so join the army today." The shocking part is who these really were. The majority of his audience at the time consisted of young teenagers, many as young as 14 years old. And from this website alone, it's very clear that no adult has written this description. But this is just the beginning. Because in his videos, Shane has said and done much worse. We mean the very first fan mail video he uploaded on his channel had this intro.
P.O. Box time, do-do-do-do. P.O. Box time, fan mail, looking through crazy shit, and it's most likely gonna get me arrested. You know what else could get me arrested? Doing this! I'm just kidding. We won't do that on camera, that's evidence.
So yeah, you can imagine how the rest of the content followed. However, to give you a little idea, here are some of the most disgusting moments that we came across. In one video, an 11-year-old fan sent him a picture of her making a heart with her hands, and he basically discarded the picture, saying that he isn't interested because the girl isn't naked.
This one is from Shelby. She's making a heart with her hands. She's not naked, so I don't care.
In another instance, a fan sent him a package, and he opened it, wondering if it was an engagement ring, and then quickly started wondering what the age of consent was in New Jersey, because the fan was from New Jersey, and then proceeded to get angry at the age of consent being 18, and then said that he always wanted to date a child, and then expressed dislike that his girlfriend wasn't 5.
She's from New Jersey. What's the age of consent there? I hope it's not 18. Boo! I've always wanted to marry a child. Cheap date. They get to order off the kids menu when you go out to dinner. They get a child's ticket at the movies. Ugh, why can't Lisa be fun?
He would also always try to turn everything his fans sent him into something and weird.
Oh, he got me a puppet. Hey look, a new Joey Graceffa video on my subscriptions. Hey Mom, it's ours new video. This would make boners so much more fun. And less creepy, sadly. He also got me a monkey who's into some really weird shit. Monkey, I told you, I don't want to do that. I'm a butt virgin. Basically just got me a box of toys. Oh wait, no, a box of sex toys. And a really pretty hair flower. I'm a classy s***. Now put it in my butt.
Like this squishy stress ball type thing his fans sent him. and Shane, being Shane, turned it into a sex toy. And as if this wasn't bad enough, he even showed the picture of the fan, who was probably a 12-year-old girl, and basically said she was into sex toys and anal beads in her hair.
Another sex toy, but this one is for on the go. Hey girl, oh what was that? You want something inside it? Let me look at my purse. Oh wait, actually, you know what? I got one right here. It's like a Wii remote though, like it's dangerous and you gotta keep it connected. You don't want this flying around hitting somebody's face! Unless you do and you're into that, then so am I. Oh, and she sent me a picture of herself. Yeah, she's definitely a sex toy. I mean, her hair is practically a sex toy. Look at all those beads. Too far. How old is she? Oh! Ooh, too far.
We mean, if this is Shane's reaction, she might really be very young. Honestly, sitting through these videos is just very hard. He also received a calendar with puppy pictures on it, and he even managed to turn that into a twisted thing by calling these puppies and then saying that he liked one particular picture a lot because it had a baby in it.
Oh my god, they're all see? Oh my god, especially this picture. It's a baby kissing a puppy. This so hard. I'm gonna this January to December.
And these are just a few examples of him making such remarks. He was constantly throwing out inappropriate comments about everything. Whether it was about kids, women, or even animals, he somehow managed to twist it into something strange, offensive, and uncomfortable. It wasn't just edgy or cringe, it was genuinely harmful. Especially considering that his audience wasn't made up of adults. It was mostly very young viewers, and he was fully aware of that. We mean, look at his content from that time. DIY projects, food challenges, silly skits, basically YouTube's version of kid-friendly entertainment. But behind that family-friendly front, he was making highly questionable jokes and content that had no place there. Even if it wasn't directed at kids, it would have still been wrong. But the fact that it was, that makes it all the more disturbing and indefensible. We also came across a video from back in the day where Shane was doing some really disturbing things to a poster of Willow Smith. Yes, the daughter of Will Smith. And honestly speaking, it was weird, inappropriate, cringy, and downright disgusting all at once. But at the same time, nothing about it was surprising. Because after everything we've seen and everything he's done, this is exactly the kind of behavior you'd expect from Shane Dawson.
Oh, I'll whip your hair back and forth. Oh.
This video actually resurfaced again in 2020, and it caused massive uproar online. People were horrified all over again, and began calling Shane out. But this time it wasn't just random viewers, it included members of Willow Smith's own family. Her brother Jaden Smith and her mother Jada Pinkett Smith both took to Twitter to call him out directly. Their tweets were filled with anger and disappointment, condemning his disgusting behavior toward Willow. Jaden Smith made 2 tweets reading, "Shane Dawson, I am disgusted by you. You an 11-year-old girl who happens to be my sister. It's the furthest thing from funny and not okay in the slightest bit." He also wrote, "This man was also doing blackface on the regular. As the youth, we need to support creators who support us and our morals. This is not okay." On the other hand, Jada Smith also took to Twitter saying, "To Shane Dawson, I am done with the excuses." During this period, Shane also ran a series on his channel called Ask Shane, where fans would submit questions and he would answer them in his typical comedic style. The series was meant to feel interactive and fun, with Shane directly engaging with his audience in ways that most creators at the time didn't. However, some moments from Ask Shane ended up being more controversial in hindsight. In one particular video, Shane revealed a story from his high school days where he dressed up as a black character, going so far as to paint his face to complete the look. While he seemed to present it as a joke at the time, the implications of that decision were deeply problematic. What made the situation worse was how impressionable his audience was. After that episode, a young fan even sent Shane a video of himself painting his own face black, essentially imitating Shane's actions. Shane included it in his content, which highlighted just how much influence he actually had over kids who were watching and idolizing him. In our opinion, this moment is a prime example of how Shane's comedy, intended as edgy and outrageous, often crossed lines and normalized behaviors that were harmful. Instead of recognizing the problem, the inclusion of the fan's video ended up reinforcing the idea that this was something something funny or acceptable, rather than something offensive. It shows not just Shane's willingness to use shock humor, but also the ripple effect his platform created among his younger, impressionable viewers. However, now we would like to pivot from his very questionable content and talk about what other endeavors he was pursuing at that time. We all know he was involved in music, and he wanted to make it big in filmmaking. He was also part of a film called Smiley, also known as the worst horror film to ever be made. But he also did countless other things during this time. On August 11th, 2010, Shane announced what he thought was going to be his big breakthrough, a 30-minute pilot called SD High. The idea was simple. Take the over-the-top characters from his YouTube channel and put them into a narrative show about high school life. The funding came from Take 180, a digital media company that had backed him after he acted in their videos. Shane hyped it up to his fans, telling them it would drop on his main channel by September. But then, things shifted. Shane claimed that a TV studio had reached out and wanted to produce the pilot for television instead. Suddenly, it wasn't just a YouTube special, it was being teased as a potential full-fledged TV show. Of course, that show never actually materialized. But the ambition didn't stop there. In March 2011, Shane uploaded another update. He was now working with Happy Madison Productions, yes, Adam Sandler's company, Sony Pictures, and even collaborating with fellow YouTubers like the Fine Bros and Brittany Louise Taylor to create a TV project. Once again, it sounded like Shane was on the cusp of something huge. But just like SD High, it fizzled out into nothing more than an announcement. By early 2012, Shane switched gears. Instead of a sketch-based high school comedy, he revealed he was developing a new show semi-based on his life, working at a weight loss center. He described it as kind of like Arrested Development, but not. He was really excited about pitching it, but again, the show never made it past the planning stage. Around this same time, Shane pivoted to music. In March 2012, he released his first mainstream single, Super Love. For a YouTuber's debut, it actually performed decently. It charted in Ireland, made it to number 16 on the UK indie chart. Encouraged by that, he kept going. In May 2012, he teased his next track, The Vacation Song, describing it as a breakup anthem that needed to feel more like Kelly Clarkson's Since You've Been Gone. It was released in June along with a music video. Later that year, in December, he dropped Maybe This Christmas. Music became another creative outlet, but while the songs drew attention, Shane never quite became the pop star he envisioned. Meanwhile, he was also pushing into film. In May 2012, he revealed he was working on a comedy horror concept, something like a teen comedy, but scary and fun. By November, he was in talks to direct a feature-length film, and in October 2012, he landed his first mainstream acting role in the slasher flick Smiley. The movie made it to theaters, but was panned by critics and barely made a blip at the box office.
Let's go over this again. Now you called in to report a... maybe two, you don't know. And you say...
And let us tell you, this movie was widely hated. We even came across a Reddit thread discussing it, and not a single person had anything positive to say, which is almost hilarious in itself because people often manage to find something nice to say about Shane's older offensive skits, no matter how bad they were. So for this film to receive absolutely zero praise, that really tells you just how bad it had to be. This one user said on Reddit, "This is possibly one of the worst horror movies I have ever seen." I, however, am under the impression that not too many people have seen it, despite the trailer having 38 million views. So, can anyone else who has seen this movie attest to how bad it is? Another commenter replied to this, saying, "This movie was straight ass. Almost as bad as Deadly Detention. Two horror movies I wholeheartedly regret seeing." Still, Shane kept experimenting. In February 2013, he recorded a single called Up, which dropped on iTunes and YouTube that March. Then, in October, he was credited on a collaboration track with Liam Horn called Wanna Make Love to You, though Shane didn't even sing on it. iTunes still listed him as one of the artists. By 2013, Shane Dawson had tried almost everything. Sketch comedy pilots, sitcom concepts, music videos, a horror movie, and even pop singles. Some projects drew attention, others bombed completely. But none of them catapulted him into mainstream Hollywood stardom. He was still that YouTube guy, just one who desperately wanted more. He also had things happening for him in his personal life during these years. Shane Dawson and Lisa Schwartz, also known online as Lizbug, started dating in late 2011. They were together for several years, and during that time, Lisa appeared in a number of Shane's videos. Their relationship was pretty public compared to his earlier dating life, with fans often seeing them collaborate on skits, challenges, and vlogs. They eventually broke up in 2015, which Shane later opened up about in his coming out video, where he shared that part of the reason was his exploring his...
I mean, I'm not completely gay, and I can't sit here and say that I am, because that's not real, that's not genuine, but I also can't sit here and say that I'm straight. And this is something that I've come to the conclusion through therapy and also just being honest with.
However, by mid-2013, Shane Dawson wasn't just churning out YouTube videos anymore. Oh no, he was diversifying his empire. In June of that year, he launched his very own podcast, dramatically titled Shane and Friends. Because clearly what the world needed was even more unfiltered thoughts straight from Shane's brain. The show, unsurprisingly, mixed his signature blend of crass humor, personal anecdotes, and awkward interviews, giving his fans exactly what they came for, and probably scaring off anyone who stumbled upon it by accident. But podcasting wasn't enough. Around this time, Shane also revealed that he was pitching not one, but multiple TV shows. Because when you're internet famous, naturally the next step is to assume Hollywood wants to hear your ideas. One project in particular stood out, a sitcom about him working at a weight loss center. Yes, a weight loss center, because if there's one setting begging for awkward comedy, it's where people are counting calories and crying over treadmills. On November 12, 2013, Shane proudly announced that he was developing the project with Sony Pictures Television for NBC. The show's working title, Losing It. Subtle, right? The premise was that of a former client at a weight loss center, loosely inspired by Shane himself, who decides to give back by becoming a consultant. And in true sitcom fashion, by the end of his first day, he's somehow running the whole place. Think The Office, but with more protein shakes and shame-based weigh-ins. To give the project credibility, Sony lined up some heavy hitters. Darlene Hunt, Will Gluck, Richie Schwartz, Lauren Schnipper, and Shane himself would all serve as executive producers. It was being positioned as a half-hour, single-camera comedy, potentially NBC's next quirky hit. Unfortunately for Shane, the project never quite made it past the development stage again. Now at this point you might be wondering if any of his ideas actually made it on the screen. Well, yes, we know of one that did, and from what we figured out, it was a huge opportunity for Shane to do something better with his life, make it big in filmmaking, and actually learn a thing or two in the process. But guess what? Shane managed to fuck it up in true Shane fashion. In 2014, Shane got the opportunity to participate in The Chair, a reality TV-style filmmaking competition produced by Stars, where two rookie directors were each handed a $250,000 budget to create their debut feature film. The idea was simple. Same budget, same resources, different results. One of those directors was Anna Martimucci, an up-and-coming filmmaker with a more indie art house sensibility. The other, none other than Shane Dawson, a YouTuber who had built his empire on offensive skits, blackface, and fart jokes. Yeah, totally even playing field. Shane's project was titled Not Cool, a teen comedy that was basically an extension of his YouTube brand. Raunchy humor, over-the-top characters, and jokes that felt like they belonged on a late 2000s Newgrounds forum. The movie was supposed to be Shane's big Hollywood breakthrough, his chance to prove that he was more than just that guy who screams in wigs on YouTube, but instead, it became a masterclass in how not to handle an opportunity. From the start, Shane clashed with Zachary Quinto. Yes, actual Hollywood actor Zachary Quinto, who was executive producing the show. Quinto hated Not Cool. He called it offensive, lazy, and flat-out embarrassing. Meanwhile, Shane doubled down, insisting that the humor was what the kids wanted, and that the critics just didn't get his genius. Spoiler, the critics got it just fine, they just thought it was garbage. All in all, Shane was extremely disrespectful to the entire crew, to the point where Zachary Quinto essentially walked out and didn't want to work on the project anymore. We came across these videos of Shane from the production of this film, and they showed just how unbearable he was.
The script is not that raunchy. Somebody out there is a rat, and they're going around saying this is the raunchiest movie ever made, and it's pissing me the off.
He says, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've had clients that have gone online, watched Shane's stuff, and said, I don't want to be a part of that.
When I was an actor, I was auditioning for everything. I don't quite understand the logic of being picky when you have no job.
Well, no, but that's the problem. They do have jobs. And one woman in particular who's a professor who's up for tenure.
Well, then why am I seeing professors? Where are the actors?
It's a smaller, more limited talent pool than out of New York or LA.
Can't find actors if we can't find crew. Then how are we going to fix this to make Pittsburgh look great? Because Zach Quinto ain't doing anything.
On top of that, Shane constantly edited the script, trying to make everything more raunchy and over the top. Nobody working on the film appreciated these changes, and whenever someone attempted to push back or share a different perspective, Shane would throw a tantrum. He was insensitive, dismissive, and refused to consider anyone else's artistic input, even from his own friend and co-host Laurel Schnipper. He also frequently walked off the sets, throwing a tantrum like a little kid.
Many times, the is a problem for people. So if we just lose that, I'm just saying.
I'm not taking anything out of the movie to please a bunch of out-of-work actors in Pittsburgh who should be lucky to get an audition for a feature film. No director has ever taken anything out of a movie to get somebody to audition. I'm angry that we're finding out about this 2 days before we start filming the movie. I don't know. I'm gonna go.
Shane, stop it. You can't go. We have too much to do.
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do this in my hotel. Cool.
At one point, he yelled at Laurel during production, only to later claim that he was just being honest and open with her, which clearly wasn't true. There is actual proof of him being rude, demeaning, and condescending toward the crew, including Laurel.
I feel like I've been very open to every note, every suggestion, everything. I've never yelled at you guys, said I don't know. If I just want an extra beat somewhere, I feel like I deserve it at this point.
I've been yelled at for the.
To make matters worse, Shane tampered with the script so much that he essentially tried to take credit for the screenplay, even though his version was poorly written and stripped of nuance. In our opinion, this was not only unprofessional, but also creatively destructive, especially considering that his rewrites were universally disliked. When the movie finally premiered, Not Cool was ripped apart by reviewers. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette called it an atrocity that insulted both the city and the audience's intelligence. Others described it as vile and painfully unfunny.
This movie got eviscerated in the critical landscape. Absolutely destroyed.
One review said that if you enjoy my movie, you must be a sociopath.
That was in the Los Angeles Times.
For me, reviews don't really mean whether a movie is good. To have 5 middle-aged white dudes judge your movie, especially a teen comedy, not really the tell-all for how the movie.
Ouch. On the flip side, Anna's film, Holidaysburg, actually got decent reviews for being heartfelt and genuine. You know, the exact opposite of Not Cool. But here's the kicker. Despite the critics tearing him apart, Shane still won the competition. Yes, you heard that right. Why? Because the winner was determined by online votes. Shane had an army of YouTube fans who showed up in droves to click that button, so he got to walk away with the victory, even though in reality his film career basically flatlined right there. In the end, the chair gave Shane Dawson $250,000 and a massive platform to prove himself, and he turned it into a 90-minute joke. Hollywood never came knocking again. Besides all this, there was something else that happened in 2014 that really brought Shane into a very bad light. Though to be fair, it wasn't like he was ever in any sort of good light before this either. If you remember, this was the time when YouTube parodies were a huge trend. Practically everybody was making parodies of famous songs, skits, and viral moments, and of course, Shane was also jumping on that bandwagon. However, one parody he made really stood out. Not for being funny or clever, but for being gory, upsetting, and honestly just diabolical. In 2014, Shane decided to make a parody of Taylor Swift's hit song, Blank Space. Now, if you haven't seen this parody yet, here's how it went. The video opened with Shane's then-girlfriend Lisa gifting him a CD of Taylor's song. From there, things quickly took a dark and disturbing turn. Shane's parody leaned into gratuitous violence and shock value. It featured unsettling scenes that many people found offensive and disturbing rather than comedic. To this day, it remains one of the most criticized pieces of content he put out during that time. In the video, Shane's first disregarded the CD given to him by saying it was teen music.
My girlfriend got into my car, told me to listen to her new CD. What the f are you smoking? Do I look 14?
But then he listened to it alone and kinda got disturbingly obsessed with Taylor's voice and started listening to it everywhere. Moments before unaliving himself, and in the shower while touching himself.
Her voice sounds so soft and sweet. All these lyrics are relating to me. I could listen to this till my life ends. So I listen while I'm lifting. She gives me energy. And I listen
listen in the shower when I'm making love to me. I listen when I'm hurting. Her ballads are everything. It's like I'm never lonely, like she's my best friend. She's always tweeting inspirational quotes, and then I read them.
Also, another thing that was creepy in this parody was Shane's expressions, just purely psychopathic. The expressions he made throughout weren't funny, they came off unhinged and predatory. The tone shifted from parody into something people described as disturbing, like watching a character lose their mind, but without any real punchline to justify it. As the video progressed, Shane got so obsessed with Taylor that he actually started stalking her. And not only that, but he lured his girlfriend, played by Lisa, out onto their front porch and proceeded to hit her repeatedly with a dumbbell until her face was disfigured and a bloody mess. It was just unnecessarily gory and violent, and especially when you realize that these people exist in real life. In the video, after he murdered his girlfriend, the lyrics read, "Now I don't have a girlfriend. Hey Taylor, here I come. I got your address." And if you think this is bad, then stick with us. In the parody, he also started stalking Taylor and spying on her with binoculars and a creepy smile on his face.
Oh, you look so cute up in your bedroom.
He then stabbed her bodyguard 11 times and entered her house, looking for her and chasing her through the house while Taylor ran away from him.
Now I'm opening the front door. I think I smell her scent. Now I'm checking out the knick-knack.
And then, when he finally caught her, he kissed her, but then he realized that she wasn't what he had envisioned her to be, and then he got really mad at her.
Huh. I didn't feel a connection, did you?
No!
What?
And guess what? After realizing this, he murdered her with the same dumbbell, and at the end of the video, he would be seen sewing something, which was later revealed to be a mask of Taylor's face, because he was apparently not meant to be with her, but to be her. So yeah, there was that. We didn't even know if we should be showing you all these images or explaining in detail what Shane put in his parody, but honestly, there aren't really words that can fully capture the weird, psychotic, and downright creepy feeling this video left in our heads and in our hearts. It wasn't just edgy humor, it was unsettling. First off, the person in his parody wasn't some random fictional character. It was a real celebrity, someone who had already been the target of threats and harassment in the past. To make a parody video about them in this way wasn't just in bad taste, it felt dangerous. Especially when you consider the timing. Not long before Shane released this video, Taylor Swift had actually filed a restraining order against a man named Timothy Sweet, who had broken into her homes in both Beverly Hills and Nashville. This same man had threatened to kill Taylor, her family, and anyone close to her. According to a BBC News article, one of the messages he sent to Taylor read, "Dearest Taylor, I'll any man who gets in the way of our marriage." In our opinion, this parody wasn't just another harmless skit or cringy attempt at comedy, it crossed into something much darker. What made it serious was the way Shane chose to present graphic and disturbing imagery under the guise of humor, completely disregarding the potential impact it could have on viewers. Unlike lighthearted parodies that poke fun at celebrities or exaggerate their quirks, this one leaned into gore and shock value, leaving audiences unsettled rather than entertained. The fact that it was uploaded to a platform as mainstream as YouTube, where millions of young fans followed Shane at the time, made it even worse. It blurred the line between edgy humor and outright harmful content, and looking back, it showed just how reckless and tone-deaf Shane was when it came to the influence he wielded. However, when this parody surfaced, the reaction was swift and overwhelmingly negative. Even in 2014, when YouTube was a lot more lenient with edgy content, many viewers felt Shane had gone too far. Fans who had once supported his skits began speaking out, calling the video disturbing and inappropriate rather than funny. Conversations started spreading across forums, comment sections, and early social media platforms, with people questioning how content like this could be justified as comedy. Others pointed out that Shane's massive audience included kids and teenagers, making the video's graphic nature even more concerning. While some of his die-hard fans defended him under the banner of dark humor, The larger community saw this as a red flag and another example of Shane's long pattern of crossing boundaries without accountability. But this wasn't the end of it. Not at all. Despite the backlash and despite the very real danger Taylor Swift was facing in her personal life at the time, Shane showed no empathy or sensitivity whatsoever. The video was considered so grotesque and disturbing that YouTube itself removed it shortly after it was uploaded in 2014. But it wasn't just YouTube that stepped in. Taylor's management team also reportedly filed a cease and desist order against the video. Now, you would think that in this moment, Shane might reflect, recognize that he'd crossed a serious line, and take accountability. But instead, he doubled down. In a follow-up rant, Shane lashed out about how he was being targeted, going as far as to call Taylor entitled and overreacting. He told his fans that he had been given two options. He could either re-upload a censored version of the parody with the violent parts removed, or take the video down entirely. And honestly, the fact that he was even given that option was, in our opinion, very generous. But Shane wasn't happy with that compromise.
Hey, what's up, you guys? First of all, Merry Christmas. Second of all, I'm fucking pissed.
He insisted that he wouldn't cut down what he described as his amazing masterpiece, and instead framed the entire situation as him being silenced unfairly. Incredibly, he even addressed Taylor directly in the video, mocking the idea that she didn't like it.
Tweet Taylor Swift and say, hey Taylor, what happened? Did you not like the video? B, the other option is to re-edit it, take out all of the stuff that made it great. I'm gonna fight that shit. And I have you guys behind me. Because we're not going to let this happen. We're not going to sit here and let people tell us what to do. This is America, bitch. Merry Christmas, Sony.
And this is where we're left shaking our heads. Shane, what kind of person do you have to be to not understand that Taylor was already living under the threat of real violence? That she had just gone through terrifying incidents with an obsessed stalker breaking into her home. She didn't need someone making a parody video of her being with a dumbbell. It's disturbing, it's cruel, and it's honestly indefensible. However, nothing really came out of the cease and desist. We don't know the full details of why, but shortly after the video was initially taken down, it reappeared on Shane's channel with just an age restriction added. From what we've gathered, it seems that Taylor's team and management probably didn't want to waste time pursuing the issue further. At that point, and even now, Taylor is one of the biggest stars in the world, dealing with major album releases, interviews, and a packed schedule. To her and her team, Shane likely seemed like a small distraction, someone not worth the legal trouble or media attention. However, what's more interesting is that Shane himself seemed almost proud of the controversy. Despite most of his older videos being deleted or hidden over the years, this one remains online to this very day. It's almost as if he wanted it to serve as a reminder of the drama and the boldness of his early YouTube persona. To really drive that home, Shane even left a pinned comment on the video that read, "For every 'this went too far' comment, my heart smiles." And even though Shane basically won this little battle against Taylor, it clearly left a mark on him. Instead of just moving on, he seemed to hold on to some kind of resentment. In later videos, he threw out these weird little jabs at her, saying pretty stupid things that didn't really make sense. A few years down the line, he was still at it, bringing up bizarre conspiracy theories about Taylor that honestly only came off as laughable. At one point, Shane even made a series of conspiracy theory videos about Taylor Swift. One of his theories suggested that Taylor Swift isn't actually a real person, but rather a clone of Zena LaVey, an American visual and musical artist, author, and the founder of the Sethian liberation movement. For context, Zena also happens to be the daughter of Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan.
Oh, that's literally the same person. Now, Zena is still alive. She's 50 years old. So I'm not saying that Zena is Taylor Swift. What I'm saying is there has to be a relation. They look too similar. Now, Zena today is 50 years old. When that picture was taken, she was 24, which is the same age Taylor Swift was at that same picture. So there's two theories. One theory is that Taylor is actually Zena's child, and that Taylor is a part of the Church of Satan, but she hasn't really talked about it publicly because she's kind of spreading the message in her music. All her lyrics are about revenge, bad blood. The Blank Space video where she's her house. A lot of really dark themes. Some people think that Anton and Zena are using her to get across their message. There's also a second theory, and that theory is a little crazier, but that involves the theory of cloning. Now, we're going to talk about cloning later in the video because there is a lot of celebrity cloning conspiracies, but basically what it means is they take the genetics of one person and they create another person who looks
But honestly speaking, we can brush this one under the rug as just Shane doing what he always did, because during his conspiracy theory era, he made videos about practically every single celebrity. However, it's important to remember that these videos came much later in 2017, long after the original Taylor Swift blank space parody debacle. However, another major thing that happened during 2014 was that a lot of Shane's old skits and racist remarks began resurfacing again. But by this time, the YouTube audience had matured a little. Viewers weren't just laughing things off anymore, they started calling Shane out for his lack of taste and how harmful his content really was. This pressure eventually pushed Shane to release his now infamous apology video. But to call it an apology is generous. In reality, it came off as more of a defense than an admission of wrongdoing. The tone was dismissive, lacking any real sensitivity or accountability, and it left many people feeling like Shane just didn't get it. Or worse, that he didn't care.
Couple of years.
In the bottom of my heart, I'm kind of like, maybe I have done something too offensive. Maybe I did go too far.
Now, if there's one thing you should know about Shane Dawson, it's that he has a very clear pattern, and he's no stranger to apology videos. The cycle goes something like this. Shane does something horrible, he gets called out, he films an apology, and then every few years he completely changes the style of his content. And if you look closely, you'll notice that these content shifts always line up with whatever controversy he happens to be in at the time. It's almost formulaic. He gets cancelled, apologizes, sometimes even disappears from YouTube for a while, and then returns acting like a brand new creator with a completely different type of content. That being said, Shane's 2014 apology wasn't just some half-hearted PR stunt, it was a perfect showcase of his usual playbook. The main thing he addressed back then were the blackface videos and the growing pile of racist allegations. In the video, he repeated over and over that he wasn't racist, and that he wasn't here to defend himself, while at the same time deflecting responsibility, with lines like, "A lot is happening in my life." It was the kind of statement where you talk in circles but never actually land anywhere.
This past few days, there's been a lot going on Twitter and Tumblr and a lot of other places that my mom doesn't know how to find, and basically saying that I am racist. First of all, I'm not racist, but this video is not me defending myself or telling you why I'm not racist, and I love black people, guys.
But racism wasn't the only thing people were calling him out for. Around the same time, people started resurfacing old clips where Shane made disturbing jokes about SA and children. And even worse, there were videos where he appeared to defend. We actually came across this interview of Shane where he's basically telling everyone where is justified.
Here's my justification for
Can't.
Here's my thing. People have fetishes. People have fetishes about, everything. Fine, everybody do your thing. So why is it when somebody looks at Google's like baby on Google, off to it, they can get arrested? I don't understand that.
According to Shane himself, he openly stated in one of his old videos that he saw no reason why someone who was Googling inappropriate images of and getting off to that should be arrested. Let that sink in for a second. His logic, if you can even call it that, was that everyone has a fetish, and therefore this too should just be considered another fetish. Yes, you heard that right. Shane Dawson, one of the biggest YouTubers of the early 2010s, once sat there and essentially minimalized by putting it in the same category as someone liking feet or cosplay. And while the audience was still recovering from this, he went on record and admitted to Googling child and watching it.
Here's the worst part of it. I actually went to Google and I'm like, I don't want to see.
You could get arrested.
I know, but I just wanted to see, like, okay, let me pretend like I'm a pedophiler.
He also said that he found a picture of a girl and called her a skinny little 6-year-old.
So I typed in baby. First of all, okay, back to the Instagram. So I look at this little girl's pictures, and she had makeup on. She had her tongue out. She was doing like the peace sign. She was doing a backflip.
Is she like Honey Boo Boo? Is she fat?
No, she was like the skinny little 6-year-old.
Naturally, people didn't take this lightly. Online conversations quickly escalated to labeling Shane as a Whether or not he thought he was being funny, the damage was done. His past content painted him as more than just a YouTuber with bad taste. It made him look like someone dangerous, someone hiding behind the excuse of comedy to get away with the most offensive material possible. So, Shane did what Shane does best. He fired up his camera and made a video addressing what he called the rumors about him. And instead of showing even a shred of accountability, he completely lashed out. He acted offended, almost baffled that anyone could possibly call him a. He insisted that he shouldn't even have to make a video clarifying something so ridiculous.
Nowadays, I cannot believe that I am having to make this video. I cannot believe that this is happening. I'm going to start by saying I am not. I, Shane Yaw, my real name, go on record saying I am not.
But here's the thing. This wasn't some random rumor plucked out of thin air. This wasn't an internet witch hunt built on nothing. People were reacting to his own words, his own skits, his own edgy jokes, where he repeatedly sexualized kids and defended the indefensible. Yet Shane positioned himself like he was the victim of some massive misunderstanding, as if the audience had all collectively imagined what he'd said. This wasn't accountability, it was deflection. And that's the Shane Dawson cycle. Controversy, outraged, a half-baked apology or denial, and then a pivot into a new content era to wash away the backlash. That being said, the period from 2015 to 2020 was, in our view, the most crucial turning point in Shane's story. The years that ultimately laid the foundation for his downfall. And if you trace it back, the cracks began to show with the end of his second channel, SDV2. Before that channel finally went dark, Shane had already given people plenty of reasons to dislike him even more than they already did. One of the most infamous examples, and surprisingly something that most people know him for today, is what's now remembered as the cat story. Yes, Shane once claimed in an interview or podcast somewhere that he had done things to his cat. He didn't just make a tasteless joke, he flat out said he had his cat, and even described it as his first encounter. It was one of those moments that made the entire internet stop and collectively say, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Not that this was the only time.
No, my dog's a really needy guy. No, the things I've done to my poor animals, they will never love me. I've done terrible things. I used to...
Oh no, I don't know if you want to go.
Of course, Shane later backtracked, swearing it was just a joke, and that he never actually did anything to his pet. In March 2019, he made a flurry of tweets talking about it. He said, I didn't f*** my cat. I didn't on my cat. I didn't put my anywhere near my cat. I never do anything weird with my cats. I promised myself I wasn't going to make apology videos after last year's thing, so I'm just trying to be as short and honest with this as possible. I've apologized many times for all the dumb shit I've said in videos and podcasts over the years. I've learned my lesson over and over again, and I am more confident now in my ability to be entertaining by just being myself and not being so shocking for laughs. He also claimed that this whole disturbing story was nothing more than a fake bit that he had made up for one of his sketches. According to him, he had never actually done anything like that. It was just a shocking story he decided to recycle on a podcast and get a reaction from his fans. But that explanation doesn't really hold up, because even if you take him at his word, it still means he sat down, chose to invent a scenario involving a cat in a sexual context, and then thought it would be a good idea to retell it for laughs. Whether it was real or made up doesn't change the fact that it was disturbing and wildly inappropriate. Instead of clearing his name, his "it was fake" defense only made people more uneasy. Honestly, why would you even think of saying something like that in the first place? Whether it was shock humor gone way too far or some twisted attempt at being edgy, the damage was already done. The cat story stuck to him like glue, and for a lot of people, it became one of the most unforgettable and most disturbing things he ever said. However, the cat story wasn't the only disturbing thing that left people questioning Shane's character, and honestly his overall mental state. Because if you take a quick look back at his older content, you'll notice a pattern. Shane had a strange habit of doing weird and inappropriate things with almost all of his pets. From what we've gathered, his earliest pets were two cats named Snoop and Muffin. And yes, he made the same kind of disturbing comments about them, joking that they liked abuse.
Just got back to my house. Say hi, Muffins.
Nobody wants to talk to you.
Poor Muffins. Don't say poor Muffins. Muffins is a stupid idiot. Anyways,
Oh yeah, that's Snoop.
Oh,
like
Snoop. Now you don't like that one.
He doesn't do anything. And like, I'll throw something at him and he won't even move.
You're so nice
This
to
is kind of heavy. There we go.
There, now you made it.
But then, in one of his videos, Shane openly admitted that he was never really a cat person.
I have never been a cat person. I've always been a dog person. Like, the only time I ever even connected to a cat was when I saw one dead on the street, because I'd be like, f***ing me. But besides that, like, I've never had an emotional connection to a cat.
So what did he do? He got dogs. Over the years, he's had multiple dogs, but one that stands out in particular was a golden retriever he named Charlie. And the way he treated Charlie in his videos was just unsettling. Shane would literally spit food into the dog's mouth, or have the dog eat things directly out of his mouth, as if it were some kind of party trick.
Like, the tastiest thing you'll love to know.
Look at look at his lip. Do that?
No.
Charlie, or like me turned off.
Charlie.
Damn, little hip.
You!
Spit in his mouth.
You are disgusting.
He loves it.
Do you do that on camera? Do people know that you do that?
I don't think so. I don't do that. That's gross. It's disgusting. It's abuse.
I mean, it's so upset. If they only knew the real you. I mean, I can't.
Shane didn't stop there either. Over the years, he continued to bring more pets into his life, each one becoming part of his content in some strange, unsettling way. After Charlie, the golden retriever, he went on to get more animals, including a dog he adopted with his then-girlfriend Lisa, another cat, and a corgi. At one point, Shane even had a whole herd of pets. His very first dog named Miley, followed later by Charlie, a golden retriever, and a corgi he named Chocolate. On top of that, his family cats, Snoop and Muffin. Another thing that becomes clear when looking back at Shane's old content is that he was never actually the one taking care of these pets. The dogs were almost always in the care of his mom, Teresa. Shane was the one who went out and got these animals, but instead of truly being responsible for them, he used them as props in his videos, turning their well-being into a punchline. Feeding them, walking them, taking them to the vet, all of that fell on his mother. Meanwhile, Shane would bring them on camera, squeeze content out of their cuteness or misery, and then leave the real responsibility to someone else. As for his corgi Chocolate, there was a period in Shane's videos where the dog seemed to live inside a crate most of the time. The excuse was that Chocolate was extremely energetic and always getting in the way, so locking him up became the solution. On top of that, Chocolate eventually got sick and had to be quarantined, which meant he spent even more time confined. He was in that cage for so long that it ended up causing lasting issues with his mobility. This lines up with the video Teresa taking Chocolate to physical therapy, something that likely wouldn't have been necessary if the dog had been properly cared for in the first place.
Well, I'm on the way to take Chocolate to his physical therapy. Oh, and that feels so good because you've just been cooped up in that crate.
But eventually, Shane abandoned all those dogs altogether. Once he moved in with his girlfriend Lisa, the pets from before were basically left behind. Instead, he and Lisa adopted another corgi together. At first they named her Chloe, but after fans suggested it, they decided to change her name to Unicorn, or Corny for short. And surprise, surprise, the same exact pattern repeated itself with Corny. Shane was unnecessarily disgusting in the way he talked about this poor dog. There's even a video where he casually tells the story of kissing Corny and somehow ending up with her whole vagina in his mouth. Yes, he actually said that on camera and played it off like it was a funny moment.
That means you ate your dog.
Okay, it was an accident. So you're like...
Oh my god, you are like the most disgusting person ever. Like literally.
No, I know. It was an accident, and I was licking her, I was blowing on her stomach or whatever, and then she jumped up and kicked, and then her whole was in my mouth, and Lisa started screaming, and I started screaming. Can't even in front of my dog. Well, except for when I'm f***ing my dog. Oh yeah, daddy likes.
When you hear things like that over and over again, it becomes pretty clear that something about the way he views and treats animals is just off. It's not just irresponsible pet ownership at this point, it's bizarre and disturbing. The entire concept of him having pets at all feels completely wrong because they weren't companions in his life, they were props for content. But wait, because of course there's more. After Shane and Lisa broke up, he went out and got himself a Labrador puppy named Uno. Now, you'd think at this point he'd have realized that maybe, just maybe, being a pet owner requires time, patience, and actual responsibility. But nope, Instead, Uno quickly became another chapter in the saga of Shane doesn't know how to take care of animals. Uno would constantly chew things up, destroy stuff around the house, and generally act like, well, a normal Labrador puppy. But Shane didn't really step up. By this point, he was already with Ryland, and naturally, Ryland had to step in and actually deal with the dog. Because apparently that's Shane's pattern. Collect animals like trading cards, let someone else raise them, and still act like they're his quirky content mascots. And you'd think maybe that was enough, right? Wrong again. After Uno, Shane brought home yet another cat. This one named Cheeto. And Cheeto quickly became the most talked about cat Shane has ever had. Because unlike his past pets, Cheeto seemed to absolutely despise Shane. We mean, this cat has got actual merch on his name. Every video, every clip, every moment showed this orange cat glaring at him, with a kind of pure, unfiltered hatred that you honestly can't fake. It was like Cheeto had become the internet's furry little spokesperson for every criticism Shane had ever gotten.
Bitch, you're doing it! Yes, yes, yes! And then I just cut your nails through this hole. Oh. This is my new best friend. He loves me. That's I love you in cat. You like that? Like a trick-or-treat bag though, you know what I mean? Wait, stay there. Don't move! Ow! No! Let me love you! Oh, am I going the wrong way? Sorry, baby. Come on, show them how much you care. Come on, Cheeto, look. Come on, don't run from the party. Come on. We're supposed to be having fun! Now have fun with your mom! Come on, we're gonna go to the movies! Come on. Come on, baby.
But even that wasn't the end of it. No, Shane decided to up the ante and adopt a husky named Honey. Now, anyone with the slightest bit of knowledge about pets knows that huskies and cats don't always mix well. People had real concerns about how Honey and Cheeto would get along. Was it going to be chaos, fights, or worse? But oddly enough, they bonded really well. Why? Probably because at the end of the day, they had something in common. Their mutual hatred for Shane. However, if there was ever one incident that really summed up Shane Dawson's entire history with pets, it was the entrance, and very quick exit, of a kitten named Mario. Shane and Ryland actually adopted the kitten from none other than Trisha Paytas' partner at the time. And right there, before anything even happened, people were already side-eyeing the situation. Because, let's be honest, given Shane's track record, the idea of him taking on the responsibility of a tiny, fragile kitten was about as reassuring as putting a toddler in charge of running an airport. And unfortunately, people's fears weren't misplaced. Not long after Mario joined the Dawson Adams household, Ryland uploaded a video announcing that Mario had died.
Our kitten that I introduced to you guys last week on the podcast has unfortunately passed away, and I felt it's necessary to tell you what happened.
Fans immediately began speculating about what could have caused Mario's death, and the theories weren't exactly flattering. The most common one? That one of Shane and Ryland's dogs had been too rough with the kitten. And honestly, it made sense. Mario was so small, practically defenseless, while both Uno, the Labrador, and Honey, the Husky, were big, energetic dogs with tons of energy to burn. Putting a tiny kitten into that environment was like dropping a paper boat into a hurricane. It was never going to end well. Ryland later went on a podcast and opened up about what happened, and while he gave his explanation, it didn't exactly calm anything.
Ran out of the room, and Mario chased him. And before Shane and I got up to go out to the family room, an incident had already happened. Yeah. And as soon as we're on our way, the hissing, the noises happen, and whatever happened had already been done. When we got to where whatever happened, the two cats were next to each other and the two dogs were over there. We still don't know exactly.
The whole situation just came across as careless and heartbreaking. Just another short-lived chapter in Shane's ongoing pet saga, and was honestly devastating. The pattern never changed. In almost every case, Shane treated these pets in the same bizarre fashion. Whether it was weirdly kissing them on the mouth, hugging them a little too closely on camera, or using them as props for questionable skits, the dynamic was always uncomfortable to watch. It wasn't just gross, it was uncomfortable to watch, and for many viewers it raised a very real question. Why was this even considered content in the first place? Believe it or not, the very first Shane Dawson video we stumbled across while researching him came from an old clip highlighted in Nikki's breakdown of his journey. In that video, Shane was dared to drink his own urine, and he actually went through with it on camera.
I mean, really? Okay, I'm going to pee into a glass right now. I got a wine glass because I'm fancy. I'm really doing this right now. Oh, too much. I don't want to get drunk. Right, here it is. My Oh! Ho, ho, ho! Ooh! Why is it hot?
Now, whether he really did it or just faked it with some disgusting concoction, no one can say for sure. But the fact that he even created that scenario for content says everything about his willingness to do absolutely anything for attention. And the more we dug into his archives, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a one-off stunt. Shane's fascination with urine seemed to pop up again and again. He openly admitted to peeing in cups and bottles, leaving them around his room. Imagine walking into someone's home and mistaking one of those bottles for water. At one point, his longtime partner, Ryland Adams, even said that he pisses in bottles instead of going to the toilet because he's too lazy.
Hey, what's in that bottle right there?
It seems like maybe you might have pissed into it because you were too lazy to get and go to the actual bathroom. Shane, is that piss?
No.
Jesus, Shane, what is this?
It's Powerade. I was sick.
If this smells like piss, I'm gonna hate you.
Okay.
It's f***ing piss. Dude.
Why don't you show...
You are so gross. Ryland, why do you let him do this?
I can't stop him. I've tried.
I didn't even know about that.
I was trying to be silly for this video, but this is a moment. Sorry.
He does it even instead of the toilet. He'll choose that instead of the toilet.
I can't believe you just made me smell piss. This isn't for the video, kids. That was so gross.
And it didn't stop there. Over the years, there have been repeated references and hints that Shane incorporated urine into his private life as well, suggesting he might have an actual fetish around it. He even admitted on camera to asking Ryland to urinate on him, and at one point to pee in a diaper in front of him.
What's the grossest thing that your boyfriend has ever actually asked you to do?
Pee on him.
Oh, pee.
No, I'm nervous.
Pee, baby, pee.
Do you actually want me to pee?
Yeah.
I'm peeing.
You are?
Is it gonna leak?
I hear it.
Oh my god, our gardeners are good.
Oh my god.
Ew!
You're squeezing.
I'm sorry!
And as if all of this wasn't already horrifying enough, we stumbled across a video on YouTube posted on Tana Mojo's channel in 2016, titled I Peed on Shane Dawson. You wish this was clickbait.
You want to?
Shane, I will piss you.
What are we doing?
I hate this. I hate this so much. Wait,
Okay.
the thumbnail should be us with a cigarette though.
No, the thumbnail's gonna be a lot different.
And believe us, you really do wish it was clickbait, but unfortunately it's not. The video shows exactly what the title promises, and it only gets worse from there. In the video, Shane exposes his pubic hair to Tana, they openly joke about having sex with each other, and at one point they even sit together watching porn while smoking.
Claire Fowler. Oh, I see it.
Okay, so they see it.
Moran. Up, Trev. Yes, Trev.
Oh my god, when
this
he
one's
turns 18?
lazy. This one's lazy.
Yeah, he's
when
just watching.
When he turns 18, like, you're gonna fight.
Trevor?
Yeah.
There was a rumor that we did.
I ship it. I have this. Oh, I hate the noises. They're all like, oh, like that one.
Oh. So technically alcohol you can't drink because you have to be 21, but kombucha has alcohol.
Keep in mind, at the beginning of this very video, they both made it clear that Tana had just turned 18. Meanwhile, Shane was 27 years old at the time.
Every single thing he
This
said
sounds
to me.
like the start of a really scary Tumblr post and I don't like it.
I'm Shane and I am nuts. But really, I was 17 and it was just like a thing, you know? Like it was just everything I said. Like if you said something in front of me that was like, you'd be like, fuck, she's 17. If we were gonna watch horse and you were like, oh my god, she's 17.
The highlight, if you can even call it that, is Tana climbing on top of him screaming, I'm 18, before actually urinating on him. The whole thing is outright disgusting, disturbing, and deeply inappropriate. Not just because of the content itself, but also because of the age dynamics at play. If this isn't the most unhinged, disgusting, and downright deplorable thing you've ever seen on the internet, then honestly, we don't know what is. This video wasn't just edgy or shocking humor, it was genuinely disturbing and nasty in every way possible. The fact that it was uploaded at all and treated like entertainment makes it even more unsettling in our opinion. However, surprisingly, this was still not his eventual downfall. When Shane entered what many fans now call his collaboration era, his content began to change dramatically. Instead of just low-budget skits in his bedroom, he started surrounding himself with a new group of friends who became a central part of his channel. These included Drew Monson, Trisha Paytas, and Garrett Watts, all of whom were personalities in their own right and helped Shane tap into different audiences. Alongside them, Shane's longtime cameraman, Andrew Sawicki, became a recognizable figure, while his partner Ryland Adams and Ryland's sister Morgan also frequently appeared in vlogs. This mix of quirky personalities gave Shane's content a more communal and entertaining feel. During this period, Shane leaned heavily into vlogging, often filming trips to haunted or spooky locations, and his videos quickly became fan favorites. At the same time, Shane's channel began to pivot toward larger-scale content, documentaries and conspiracy theories. These were not just one-off videos, but multi-part series that attempted to peel back the curtain on controversial or misunderstood figures. This style of content became so popular that many new viewers who had never even seen his older sketches came to know him purely as the docuseries guy. Among his biggest projects were deep dives into internet celebrities like Jake Paul, Tana Mojo, and most notably, Jeffree Star. Shane didn't just make one video on Jeffree, he dedicated full-length docuseries to him, which gave people a more humanized look at one of YouTube's most polarizing figures. Many people credit this collaboration as the spark that kicked off an entire beauty community scandal cycle. Now, if you're unfamiliar with who Jeffree Star really is, let's be very clear. Jeffree has long been surrounded by controversy, and not the small kind. He's faced multiple accusations of assault over the years, with former associates and models coming forward with disturbing allegations about his behavior. On top of that, Jeffree has an extensive history of racist remarks. In his early YouTube days and later on, he has been caught on video using racial slurs, making derogatory jokes about black women, and even threatening violence.
Chad, look, it's the recyclers. Hold on. Yes! It's the recyclers. It's the recyclers. Yeah. Tell him. Me? You're calling me one? You're calling me one? Who's this? You? Move! Beat it! Can we get a blue bin over here, please? We need the blue bin. Dubs! Huh? Snipe!
Beyond racism and sexual misconduct, Jeffree has also been accused of surrounding himself with deeply problematic people, including individuals exposed as predators, such as his friendship with the disgraced musician Davey Vanity, who has been accused of preying on underage fans. Jeffree continued to associate with Vanity long after the allegations became public, which only added to the stain on his reputation. Now, despite Jeffree Star's name being dragged through the mud time and time again, he was still incredibly well-connected in the beauty industry. He surrounded himself with people like Manny MUA, Nikita Dragon, and Gabriel Zamora, all of whom were popular influencers at the time. Now, let's be real here, none of these people were saints either. Each of them had their own controversies and problematic pasts, especially when it came to racist comments or behavior. Maybe they weren't as notorious as Jeffree, but they were definitely not good role models by any stretch. So when Jeffree's reputation started to crumble yet again, particularly after old videos of him using racial slurs resurfaced, this group decided it was safer to distance themselves from him. They essentially turned on him, publicly ostracizing Jeffree and acting as if they were suddenly morally superior. But here's where the whole thing backfired. Instead of people only focusing on Jeffree, internet sleuths dug into the past of Manny, Nikita, and Gabriel. And surprise, surprise, they found that each of them had their own skeletons in the closet. Old tweets, offensive jokes, and racially insensitive remarks began resurfacing left and right, showing that these people weren't innocent at all. This chain reaction eventually gave us one of the most iconic YouTube apology videos of all time, Laura Lee's infamous apology. Now, you might be thinking what this has to do with Shane. Well, this was the part of Dramageddon 1. She didn't enter the picture until Dramageddon 2, when James Charles and Tati Westbrook decided to step in the chaos train. Back in 2018 and 2019, one of the biggest groups on YouTube was something fans called the Sister Squad. The lineup included James Charles, the beauty guru who had just become CoverGirl's first male ambassador, Emma Chamberlain, the quirky editing queen who was on her way to internet superstardom, and the Dolan twins, Ethan and Grayson, who had carried their Vine success over to YouTube. Together, the four of them were treated like royalty online. Their collaborations racked up millions of views, fans shipped them endlessly, and for a while they were the golden children of the platform. But like most YouTube friend groups, the picture-perfect image didn't last very long. Things took a dark turn in May of 2019 when Tati Westbrook, a beauty influencer who had been something of a mentor to James, uploaded the infamous Bye Sister video. What started as a rant about James betraying her loyalty by promoting another vitamin brand quickly spiraled into something much heavier. In the video, Tati accused James of having a habit of pursuing straight men and allegedly pressuring them into uncomfortable situations. Now, this whole thing ties up with Shane because he was actually working with Jeffree Star at the time on his conspiracy palette. And because of his association with Jeffree, people started speculating that he, Jeffree, and Tati actually schemed this to defame James Charles.
Dawson came over to hang out with me, who I adore. I don't know terribly well. We've been talking for a couple of months. The day that he came over, where we were just playing with makeup, like that had been planned for a very long time. We had been talking, that date had been set before all of this kicked up. And I just, I can't help but think that James Charles felt like that was somehow like some sneaky thing that happened, because his ego is so big that he will think that everything is about him.
Regardless, the accusations were explosive, and the internet pounced on James with a vengeance. Within days, he lost millions of subscribers, making it one of the fastest and most brutal cancellations YouTube had ever seen. And of course, who decided to jump right into the middle of it? None other than Jeffree Star. Jeffree began tweeting his support for Tati's claims, calling James a predator, and even saying he was a danger to society. But Jeffree wasn't content with just throwing out insults, he claimed he had receipts. Specifically, a voice memo that supposedly proved James had crossed a line. This so-called receipt became a legend of its own, mostly because Jeffree never actually released it. Still, the mere suggestion was enough to fuel endless speculation. Fans immediately began to connect the dots, and one of the wildest rumors to come out of this whole mess was that the voice memo was connected to Grayson Dolan. The theory was that James had made unwanted advances toward Grayson during the Sister Squad days, and that Jeffree somehow had proof of it. The idea spread like wildfire, trending across social media, even though no evidence ever came out. Eventually, James clapped back with his own video, No More Lies, where he broke down Tati's accusations point by point. He showed messages and receipts of his own, exposing inconsistencies in Tati's story, and essentially calling out Jeffree for manipulating the entire situation behind the scenes. The narrative began to flip, with people realizing that Jeffree and even Shane Dawson, who was later revealed to have been heavily involved, had used the situation to tear James down while boosting their own influence in the beauty community. Now, we don't want to dive too deep into every twist and turn of this drama, because honestly it turned into a massive he said she said situation. For this video, we're only focusing on the parts where Shane Dawson inserted himself into the chaos. And of course, in true Shane fashion, instead of staying quiet, he managed to make things worse for himself. While everything with James, Tati, and Jeffree was blowing up, Shane decided to make a series of statements that honestly just dug his own grave. He posted a tweet announcing that he was officially leaving the beauty community, calling it toxic, insane, and manipulative. But here's the kicker. He said all that while still insisting he would continue to collaborate with Jeffree Star. So basically, Shane was trying to distance himself from the fallout without actually cutting ties with the person at the center of the storm. And if there's one thing Shane Dawson is good at, it's making a bad situation worse by opening his mouth. Because he also said that James deserves a slice of humble pie. In his own words, do I think James is the devil? No. Do I think he was a young, egocentric, power-hungry guru who needed to be served a slice of humble pie? Yes. Shane then deletes the post and writes this. I deleted everything. I'm done. For those who wanted me to address it, I did. I'm sure you can find it reposted somewhere, but I don't want this energy in my life or on my timeline. I'm too sensitive for this and I'm done. This actually sparked a second wave of huge backlash for Shane Dawson. The moment he made those comments about James's fans, and honestly the wider internet, the newer fans who didn't know him fully, started digging right back into Shane's past. Their argument was simple. Who was Shane Dawson of all people to call anyone toxic or a devil when his own track record was filled with some of the most disturbing and offensive content on YouTube? And look, we're not here to say that Tati, James, or Jeffree were saints in all of this. They all had their own baggage and controversies. But the difference is, Shane should have known better. When you've spent years apologizing for racist skits, blackface, jokes and just generally shocking and disgusting behavior, you don't really have the moral high ground to sit on a pedestal and call out others. At that point, you more than anyone should understand how unforgiving the internet is, and how one careless statement can instantly drag people back down the rabbit hole of your own very public, very humiliating, and very dark past. Now, you guys already know most of the horrible things Shane has done in his past. We've gone over the blackface, jokes, the disturbing animal content, and the endless list of offensive skits. But after Dramageddon 2 blew up, one particular video resurfaced that shocked even people who thought they had already seen the worst of Shane. It was a video of Shane's then 12-year-old cousin having a conversation with him and his girlfriend at the time, Lisa. And the subject of this conversation was sex. They were openly talking about it in horrifyingly graphic detail, and it was just really uncomfortable to watch.
Now, are you on your period right now?
What?
I'm trying to get answers.
How old are you? I'm not gonna give you anything. So close.
How old are you?
I'm 12.
She's on her period,
feels very.
right?
No, what?
Are you? No, you're not on your period? You bleed. So Lucy, does that make sense?
Can you reenact it for us?
If you don't know what's going on here, he's teaching his 12-year-old cousin how to use a sex toy, and she's asking him to reenact it. Yes, we mean every single time you think this guy cannot possibly get any worse, he somehow does, and always in the most disgusting way imaginable. And here's the thing, it's not like these scandals were accidents or coincidences. Shane was the one fully responsible for all of it. So, guess what happened next? After those clips started circulating, his cousin, all the racist skits, and the jokes, people were horrified, and rightfully so. The internet was on fire, and Shane knew he couldn't just stay silent. That's when he uploaded his now infamous video titled, Taking Accountability. In this video, Shane sat down in front of the camera with heavy breathing, long pauses, and an overly somber expression plastered on his face. He said sorry for basically everything. His racism, his offensive skits, the animal jokes, the comments, you name it. He claimed that he didn't know better back then, that he was in a bad place mentally, and that he now hates the person he used to be. Over and over, he repeated how ashamed he was of his old content, how he doesn't even recognize that version of himself anymore, and how much he's grown since then. The tone of the video was very much, I'm deeply reflective and broken by my past mistakes, almost like he was trying to perform guilt. But for a lot of people watching, it came across as rehearsed and self-serving rather than genuine remorse.
And I've talked about this before, but when I say I hate that person, I mean it in the most intense way possible. I hate that person so much. That person was filled with sadness, filled with anger about their own issues, in the closet, constantly projecting on others, just like, I don't know, just that person is someone who I don't like seeing. And I think that's why I've been avoiding this, because I'm like, no, I already apologized. I don't want to go back. I don't want to see it again. I don't want to see it. Mute it on Twitter, untag it on my Instagram. Like, I hate that person.
After years of the same cycle, do something horrible, get called out, apologize, then reinvent his channel, this apology felt like just another entry in Shane Dawson's playbook. Or maybe he got inspired by some other people's apology videos and wanted the same response from the audience. However, that's not how things played out. In fact, the drama only escalated when Tati Westbrook came back with another bombshell video titled Breaking My Silence. And let us tell you, this video caused more uproar than anyone could have imagined. In it, Tati revealed that she was actually manipulated into making her original bi-sister exposé on James Charles by none other than Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star. Yes, she outright said that they pressured her into turning against James.
Sadness going on in the world, you see how quickly the tides turn, and I just want to inspire you guys, or just empower you actually to look further into yourself and your own opinions, and don't follow the herd. Follow your heart, really, because I thought I was following mine, but I was listening to the wrong people.
And here's where things went completely off the rails. Only a short while after Tati dropped her video, Shane absolutely lost it. He went live on Instagram and had what can only be described as a full-blown meltdown. He was pacing around, yelling into the camera, calling Tati a manipulator, accused her of lying, and when she opened up about her experiences with abuse, Shane interrupted, shouting that he was the one who was abused.
So sure.
Oh, of course. Is that another ad? Another ad. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. This is so f***ed. This is... Oh my God. Okay. I'm live because I can't even process. I need a drink of water. I can't process this. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. This woman is a f***ing... Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm gonna wait till as many people get in here as possible because I'm losing my mind. Keep playing it. Keep playing it.
I didn't know I was making a video. So how is it that so many editorial outlets knew that something was coming before I...
Because you message drama channels! Oh my God. Oh my God.
I struggled with the decision
Oh my God.
to film my video for days. The night before I did film, Jeffrey sent me what he claimed was an audio file from an alleged victim and told me to listen to the pain in their voice. The audio was clearly a small portion of the conversation. It wasn't enough for me to contact the authorities. It was enough to scare me.
Well, then why would you make a video on the matter claiming these allegations?
Because she is a I can't. I don't want to say mean things about people. This is insane. This is insane. This person literally... Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Keep pressing play. I need to get through this video so I can... Oh my God.
As a victim of abuse myself...
Oh my God. You are so manipulative.
To think of facing public...
You're fake crying. You are fake crying. You are fake crying. That is not real. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Contact authorities.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It was not my
Oh my
place.
God. I was molested. I have been... Oh my God.
Victim.
That is not...
And I made no mention of it in my video.
Oh my God.
Get off.
The night before posting my video by sister,
Oh my God.
I texted Shane sharing my concerns for James Charles, that he was out of the country on the high floor of a hotel and I was afraid for...
He finally got off live when Rylan told him to stop. The whole live stream quickly turned into a spectacle. Instead of defending himself, Shane looked unhinged, unraveling in real time in front of thousands of viewers. For many people watching, it was less shocking and more absurdly entertaining, because here was Shane Dawson, supposedly a grown man, spiraling live on camera, lashing out at Tati and completely losing control of his image. After Shane's meltdown livestream, things only got worse for him. Instead of winning sympathy or support, the public turned on him harder than ever. Clips of his outbursts spread across Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok almost instantly, with people mocking the way he screamed, rolled his eyes, and dismissed Tati's serious claims. Now, as the aftermath of all this, Shane ended up deleting a huge portion of his videos and privating a lot of his older content, probably because even he realized there was just too much dirt on him to keep public. But when you really think about it, this whole mess wasn't just Shane's downfall. It became a full-blown controversy that shook the entire beauty community. Influencers and creators across the board got dragged, and in some cases for very good reasons. At the same time, we can't pretend that Tati was fully honest in her videos, or that James Charles or Jeffree Star were innocent either. The truth is, all of these people were lying, manipulating and protecting themselves while throwing others under the bus. They were all toxic in their own ways, and honestly the audience probably shouldn't have given them so much attention or value in the first place. But when it comes to Shane, we truly believe he's in a category of his own. He's done things that are not just problematic, but outright disturbing: racist skits, pedophilia jokes, animal manipulations, and endless patterns of shock humor that crossed every imaginable line. And while he has apologized time and time again, the reality is there are some things you don't come back from, and some behaviors that don't deserve forgiveness. Even if the entire internet eventually lets him slide back in, the fact remains: Shane Dawson is not the kind of person who should be allowed to thrive online. He has repeated the same cycle over and over again. To us, it would be foolish to let someone who's borderline predatory, disturbing, and exploitative continue to use the internet as his playground. The only real consequence he can face now is to stay away from the spotlight, step away from YouTube, and stop profiting off the very content and scandals that made him who he is today. However, the truth is that Shane Dawson is nowhere near gone from the internet. If you go and check his channel right now, he's still very much active, uploading consistently for his audience. The last video he uploaded on his channel Shane 2 was uploaded at the end of August 2025. That being said, there have been moments where he's literally seen running away from people on the street, which honestly is understandable given his history and the backlash he's faced.
Is making the run for his life, the run for his life. Shane Dawson, run for his life, running for his life. Always to the back.
In our opinion, staying out of the public eye might be the best choice for him. But that's not entirely the case. There are also videos of him at Disneyland casually taking pictures with young girls. Some of those clips even had captions like, "Taking pictures with Shane heals my inner child," which is just bizarre, given everything he's been accused of. It really shows how divided the perception of him still is. Aside from this, Shane also appeared on a podcast about 4 months ago, where he ended up talking about almost every controversy he's ever been a part of. The episode runs for over an hour and was posted on a YouTube channel called Ask Katie Anything. The podcast kicks off with a woman named Katie introducing Shane, making it clear that he's been her longtime friend. From there, Shane dives into a wide range of topics, from his past scandals to how he feels about the internet's perception of him today.
Today, I'm sitting down with my good friend and someone who has been through just about every high and low that comes with being in the public eye, Shane.
On the podcast, Shane leaned heavily on his so-called grown-up image, talking about how much he's reflected, how much he's changed, and how he's supposedly become a better person. He's also touched on being a father, which, surprise, surprise, he actually is now. Not just to one child, but twins. Yes, Shane Dawson and Ryland Adams decided to go the surrogacy route, and he's been very open about it, even posting videos online about the whole journey. Now, while on paper that sounds wholesome, the irony here is almost unbearable. We're talking about a man who's made countless inappropriate jokes about babies and children, now being a dad himself. It's like the internet's darkest inside joke somehow turned into reality, and honestly, it's hard to know whether to laugh, cringe, or just be horrified. So, what's Shane Dawson doing right now? Well, he's still out there, making content, vlogging with Ryland, and building his new image as a dad and a changed man. He's doing podcast appearances, sharing updates about his twins, and leaning into this wholesome family man narrative. On the surface, it looks like a redemption arc. But here's the thing, the internet never forgets. And when your entire career was built on shock humor, offensive jokes, and exploiting controversies, it's not something you just scrub away with baby pictures and apology videos. The truth is, Shane represents something bigger about internet culture. Audiences gave him power, clicks, and fame for years, and in return he gave them content that was harmful, problematic, and flat-out disturbing. Yes, he apologized. Yes, he says he's grown, but growth doesn't erase the past. And it doesn't entitle anyone to the same spotlight they once had. If anything, it should come with accountability, and that's something Shane has dodged time and time again. In the end, whether Shane Dawson stays on YouTube or fades into obscurity isn't really the point. The real lesson here is how much attention we give people who thrive on controversy, how much power we hand over to creators no matter what they've done. Maybe the focus shouldn't be on whether Shane deserves forgiveness, but on whether audiences should keep rewarding behavior like his with views, money, and influence. Because at the end of the day, Shane's story isn't just about one creator. It's about the cycle of internet fame and how easily we let the worst people become the biggest voices. On this note, we would like to end today's video. If you've stayed this far, then don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments section. What do you think about the story of Shane Dawson and everything he's done so far? Do you think he will stop? Or will he make it to the headlines sooner or later?